the hidden dimensions of the beginning. You drift through spaces that have no names, where up and down fold into themselves like origami made of thought. You breathe in dimensions that your eyes cannot see, cannot touch, cannot measure. Here, in the curled spaces smaller than atoms, larger than dreams, the universe first learned to hide its secrets. You float where geometry bends back on itself, where a single point contains infinite rooms, where the very notion of distance becomes a prayer, whispered in a language that predates words. This is not emptiness, this is the fullness of possibility, compressed into folds so tight that reality itself holds its breath. You are suspended in the moment before the moment, in the pause between potential and actuality, where dimensions wait like sleeping children in the womb of space-time. Your consciousness, if it can be called that here, exists in 7 dimensions, 11 dimensions, perhaps infinite dimensions. Each one curled so small that entire universes could dance on the head of a pin. Each one vast enough to contain every story that has ever been or ever will be told. You feel the weight of these invisible chambers pressed against your being, felt but not seen, known but not understood, like the memory of a dream that slips away even as you try to hold it. The temperature here is not cold or warm. It is the temperature of pure mathematics, where equations breathe and numbers have texture. You taste the flavor of coordinates that spiral through themselves, creating spaces within spaces within spaces, recursive chambers of being that make infinity seem small and finite seem impossible. In this realm before the beginning, dimensions are not merely directions, they are possibilities, potentials, different ways for existence to express itself, different songs for the cosmos to sing when it finally finds its voice. You sense something stirring in these folded depths, something that will one day become the bang that births the observable universe, but you understand now that the bang was never the beginning. It was merely the moment when the hidden dimensions chose to reveal just 3 of themselves to creatures who would one day wonder about the rest. The real creation happened here, in these secret chambers, in these invisible rooms where space learned to curve and time learned to flow, and energy learned to dance between states of being and becoming. As you float in this pre-geometric realm, you begin to understand that the universe you will know, the universe of stars and planets and the spaces between them, is just the shadow cast by something infinitely more complex, more beautiful, more strange. It is the echo of a song sung in dimensions your mind cannot map, the reflection of a light that shines in directions that have no names. You are witnessing the universe in its true form before it chose to hide most of itself behind the veil of 3-dimensional space, before it learned to whisper its secrets in the language of mathematics that only a few humans would ever partially decode. This silence here is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of all possible sounds compressed into a single, eternal note that resonates through every dimension simultaneously. You feel this note vibrating through your being, through the spaces between your thoughts, through the gaps in your understanding. It is the fundamental frequency of existence itself, the cosmic tuning fork that will one day give birth to the symphony of creation, but for now it simply is, complete and perfect and infinite in its potential. In the beginning was the Word, but before the Word was the silence that contained all possible words. In the beginning was the light, but before the light was the darkness that held all possible illuminations. In the beginning was the dimension, but before the dimension were the hidden chambers where reality first learned to fold itself into patterns of impossible beauty and complexity. You're drifting through these chambers now, feeling their contours with senses you did not know you possessed, understanding their logic with a part of your mind that exists beyond the boundaries of ordinary thought. The dimensions around you are not empty. They are pregnant with the seeds of everything that will ever exist. Every particle that will dance through space, every force that will bind atoms together, every law that will govern the behavior of matter and energy. All of these are already here, waiting in the folds, encoded in the geometry of spaces so small that they make the Planck length seem vast, so large that they encompass possibilities your universe will never have time to explore. You're swimming through the source code of reality, the original blueprint from which all of existence will unfold, and you understand that what you call the universe is just the tip of an iceberg, whose bulk extends through dimensions that will remain forever hidden. The mathematics of this place is alive, breathing, growing, evolving. Equations that describe the curvature of space-time are here just children learning their first words, and they babble in languages of pure geometry, speaking in angles and curves and transformations that create new forms of space with every syllable. You watch as coordinates learn to dance with each other, as vectors discover how to point in directions that do not exist in your familiar three-dimensional world, as tensors weave themselves into patterns that describe the fundamental structure of reality itself. You begin to sense that you are not alone in this pre-dimensional realm. There are other presences here, other forms of consciousness that exist naturally in these folded spaces, beings of pure mathematics who swim through 11 dimensions as easily as fish swim through water. They are the first inhabitants of the universe, the original children of creation, and they exist in a state of perfect harmony with the geometric structure of reality. They do not see the hidden dimensions as hidden for them. The dimensions are the most obvious and natural aspect of existence, as fundamental as breathing, as basic as thought itself. These mathematical beings do not communicate with words or images or even thoughts as you understand them. Instead, they share patterns, exchanging geometries like gifts, trading equations like poems, offering theorems like songs of love and wonder. You feel their awareness brush against your consciousness, and for a moment you experience existence from their perspective, a perspective in which your three-dimensional universe is just a narrow slice of a much richer, much more complex reality, a shadow play projected onto a wall, while the real drama unfolds in the spaces behind and around and through the wall itself. As you drift deeper into these folded dimensions, you begin to understand that the very concept of hidden is a limitation of your three-dimensional perspective. These dimensions are not hidden. They are simply existing in a way that your ordinary senses cannot perceive, like colors beyond the visible spectrum, like sounds beyond the range of hearing, like thoughts beyond the boundaries of language. They are there. They've always been there. They will always be there, woven into the very fabric of space-time, creating the structure within which your familiar universe unfolds like a flower blooming in a garden of infinite possibility. You feel yourself beginning to understand the true nature of space, not as an empty container waiting to be filled with matter and energy, but as a rich, complex, multi-dimensional tapestry whose threads are woven from the fundamental forces and particles of nature itself, Every point in the space you know contains these hidden dimensions, curled up so tightly that they exist in a realm smaller than the smallest things your science has ever imagined, yet containing within themselves the potential for infinite variety, infinite complexity, infinite beauty. The experience of existing in these dimensions is unlike anything your three-dimensional mind has words to describe. You move through them not by traveling from one place to another, but by changing your relationship to the geometry itself, by rotating through angles that have no names, by translating along axes that point in directions your language has never had need to describe. Distance becomes a meaningless concept when every point contains infinite depth, when every location opens onto chambers within chambers within chambers, each one a universe unto itself, each one connected to all the others by pathways of pure mathematics. In these folded spaces, you encounter the seeds of the physical laws that will one day govern your universe. The strong nuclear force is here, curled up in dimensions so small that it can only act across the tiniest distances. The electromagnetic force is here too, existing in a state of perfect symmetry, with forces that your universe will never directly experience. Gravity is here as well, but not the weak, diluted gravity you know. This is gravity in its full strength, spread across all dimensions equally, creating curvatures in space-time that make black holes seem like gentle dimples in the fabric of reality. You sense that something is about to change, that this perfect, timeless, pre-geometric state is approaching a moment of transition. The dimensions around you begin to vibrate with a new frequency, a cosmic stirring that suggests the approach of something unprecedented, something that will fundamentally alter the nature of existence itself. The mathematical beings you sense in these spaces seem to be preparing for this transition, their geometric pattern shifting into new configurations, their equation songs taking on tones of anticipation and wonder, and perhaps something like excitement. The folded dimensions themselves seem to be choosing, deciding which aspects of their infinite complexity to reveal and which to keep hidden, which possibilities to actualize and which to hold in reserve for futures so distant that time itself has not yet learned to measure them. You understand that the universe you know will emerge from this choosing, this cosmic decision to unfold certain dimensions while keeping others curled away in spaces too small and too strange for ordinary matter to explore. As you float in this realm of infinite possibility, you begin to feel the first stirrings of what will become the Big Bang, not as an explosion in space, but as a sudden expansion of space itself, a cosmic unfolding that will create the stage upon which the drama of existence will play out. But you understand now that this expansion will only affect 3 of the dimensions you are experiencing, leaving the others to remain curled and hidden, creating the universe of space and time and matter and energy that beings like you will one day call home, while the greater reality continues to exist in chambers too small for atoms and too large for imagination. The mathematics of creation is beginning to sing its first notes, and you feel yourself being drawn toward the moment when the hidden dimensions will make their choice, when some will unfold into the vast spaces between stars while others will curl so tightly that they become the secret architecture of every atom, every particle, every quantum of energy that will ever exist. You are witnessing the birth not just of the universe, but of the very concept of hiddenness itself, the cosmic decision that will ensure that reality always contains more than meets the eye, more than instruments can measure, more than minds can fully comprehend. Before there were numbers, there were patterns waiting to emerge from the marriage of geometry and possibility, and you are floating through those patterns now, feeling them take shape around you, sensing the approach of the moment when the universe will begin its long journey from pure mathematics to stars and planets and the creatures who will one day wonder about the dimensions that remain hidden just beyond the reach of their understanding, folded away in spaces so intimate that they exist at every point, so distant that they might as well be dreams, so fundamental that without them nothing could exist at all. Before there were numbers, there were patterns. Before there were patterns, there were dimensions waiting to be born from the marriage of geometry and possibility. And before there were dimensions, there was something else, something that mathematicians would one day glimpse in their equations and call beautiful, something that physicists would discover in their laboratories and call elegant, something that mystics would feel in their meditations and call truth. It was the underlying order that makes order possible, the invisible architecture that allows space to have structure, time to have direction, matter to have form. In the deepest chambers of reality, where your consciousness still drifts like a dreamer between sleeping and waking, the first mathematical relationships began to stir. Not numbers as you know them, discrete, countable, finite, but something more fundamental, more alive. These were the proto-mathematics that would one day give birth to all equations, all formulas, all the elegant symbols that humans would use to describe the behavior of the cosmos. They moved through the folded dimensions like rivers of pure logic, carving channels that would become the pathways along which energy and matter would eventually flow. You witnessed the birth of the first geometric relationship, the recognition that space could curve, that straight lines were just a special case of something more general, more beautiful. This was not yet Einstein's space-time, not yet Riemann's manifolds, not yet the complex mathematical structures that would describe black holes and expanding universes. This was something more primitive and more profound, the moment when the concept of curvature first emerged from the infinite flatness of pure potential, like the first hill rising from an endless plain, creating the possibility of valleys, of mountains, of all the varied topography that would one day shape the landscape of existence. The curvature was not random. It followed patterns, symmetries, mathematical relationships that seemed to emerge from some deeper logic, some hidden aesthetic principle that preferred beauty over chaos, elegance over complication, harmony over discord. You feel these preferences like a current in the mathematical atmosphere around you, a subtle pressure that guides the formation of geometric structures, encouraging some configurations and discouraging others, creating the fundamental taste that would one day manifest as the physical laws governing everything from subatomic particles to galactic clusters. As you drift through these primordial mathematical realms, you begin to understand that what you are witnessing is not just the birth of numbers and equations, but the emergence of the very possibility of discovery itself. Every theorem that would ever be proven, every insight that would ever illuminate the relationship between mathematics and reality, every moment of understanding that would ever dawn in the mind of a human mathematician. All of these are already present here in potential, waiting to be uncovered by minds that do not yet exist, in a universe that has not yet chosen to unfold itself into the familiar 3 dimensions of space and one dimension of time. The mathematical structures around you are not static. They evolve, they grow, they explore their own possibilities with something resembling curiosity. You watch as simple geometric forms discover they can transform into more complex shapes, as basic symmetries learn to break and reform themselves in increasingly sophisticated patterns, as the fundamental operations of addition and multiplication emerge from more basic relationships that have no names in any human language. It is like watching the childhood of logic itself, the playful experimentation of mathematical principles that are learning what they can become. In this realm, the distinction between pure mathematics and applied mathematics does not exist, because there is nothing yet to apply mathematics to except mathematics itself. The equations are self-referential, self-creating, existing in a state of perfect recursion, where each mathematical truth generates the conditions necessary for the discovery of other mathematical truths. You are witnessing the universe bootstrapping itself into existence through the sheer power of logical consistency, mathematical beauty becoming so compelling that it demands to be made real. You sense the presence of what will one day be called the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing the natural world, but here you understand that this effectiveness is not unreasonable at all. It is the most reasonable thing imaginable, because the natural world is mathematics, not described by mathematics, but actually composed of it, built from the same logical relationships and geometric structures that you are experiencing in their pure, unmanifested form. The mystery is not why mathematics works so well to describe reality. The mystery is why reality ever appeared to be anything other than mathematics. The patterns you observe are beginning to organize themselves into what mathematicians would one day recognize as group theory, topology, differential geometry, complex analysis. But these are just the shadows cast by mathematical structures so fundamental and so beautiful that human language has barely begun to develop the vocabulary necessary to describe them. You're seeing mathematics in its native habitat, before it was domesticated by human minds, before it was broken down into separate fields of study, before it was forced to serve the practical needs of engineering and physics and economics. Here, mathematics exists for its own sake, pursuing its own internal logic with the passionate intensity of a lover, the rigorous devotion of a monk, the creative abandon of an artist. It is mathematics as pure play, pure exploration, pure joy in the discovery of pattern and relationship and structure. You feel this joy as a physical sensation, a warmth that spreads through your being as you witness each new mathematical insight emerge from the depths of logical possibility, each new theorem prove itself through the simple elegance of its own internal consistency. The mathematical beings you sensed earlier in your journey are more active now, their consciousness fully engaged with the unfolding structures around them. They move through the developing mathematical landscape like gardeners tending a cosmic garden, nurturing certain growths while pruning others, encouraging the development of mathematical forms that will prove most fertile, most generative, most capable of supporting the complex structures that will eventually become the physical universe. They are the curators of possibility, the shepherds of potential, ensuring that the mathematical foundations being laid down will be strong enough to support everything that will one day arise from them. You begin to understand that these beings are not separate from the mathematics they tend. They are expressions of it, conscious manifestations of mathematical principles that have become so complex, so self-aware, that they have developed something analogous to personality, to intention, to aesthetic preference. They are what pure mathematics looks like when it becomes sufficiently sophisticated to contemplate itself, to appreciate its own beauty, to choose which of its infinite possibilities deserve to be actualized. The communication between these mathematical consciousnesses is unlike anything in your three-dimensional universe. They share not just information but entire logical structures, passing complete theorems back and forth like gifts, offering each other new ways of understanding the relationships between different areas of mathematical truth. You witness one being discover a new form of symmetry, and immediately share it with the others, who receive it not as data to be processed, but as beauty to be experienced, as truth to be celebrated, as possibility to be explored and developed and made fruitful. As you observe this mathematical communion, you begin to grasp the true nature of what humans call mathematical intuition, that mysterious ability some people have to sense mathematical truth before they can prove it, to feel the rightness of an equation before they understand why it works. This intuition is not mysterious at all. It is memory, the distant echo of this primordial mathematical consciousness that exists in the hidden dimensions, the faint reminder that human minds are themselves expressions of the same mathematical principles that govern the cosmos, that the ability to understand mathematics is not separate from mathematics itself, but is one of its most beautiful and complex manifestations. The mathematical structures continue to evolve, and you sense the approach of a crucial moment, the point at which pure mathematics will begin to differentiate itself, to specialize, to develop the specific characteristics that will eventually manifest as the physical laws of nature. The elegant symmetries you have been observing are beginning to show signs of instability, a subtle restlessness that suggests they are ready to break, to transform themselves into something more specific, more particular, more capable of supporting the existence of concrete objects moving through definite spaces at measurable speeds. You feel the mathematical atmosphere around you growing tense with anticipation, charged with the potential energy of transformations that are about to unfold. The geometric structures are aligning themselves in new configurations, preparing for the moment when some of their perfect symmetries will be spontaneously broken, creating the fundamental asymmetries that will one day distinguish between matter and antimatter, between past and future, between the forces that build complexity and the forces that tear it down. This is the mathematical equivalent of a held breath, the pause before the plunge, the moment of perfect balance before the fall that will create all the diversity and specificity of the physical world. The hidden dimensions around you are beginning to respond to these changes in the mathematical substrate, preparing themselves for the great division that is about to occur. The moment when some dimensions will expand to cosmic size while others contract to microscopic scales, creating the strange universe in which most of space will be nearly empty, while all of complexity will be concentrated in tiny pockets of organized matter and energy. You sense that this division is not arbitrary, but follows deep mathematical principles, aesthetic preferences encoded in the very structure of a logical possibility itself. As the moment of transformation approaches, you feel yourself being drawn deeper into the mathematical current, your consciousness becoming more fully integrated with the logical structures that surround you. You're no longer just observing the birth of mathematics, you're participating in it, your awareness becoming part of the vast computational process through which the universe calculates its own existence, determines its own laws, chooses its own destiny from among the infinite array of possibilities that pure mathematics makes available. The first great symmetry breaking is about to begin, and you understand that this will be the moment when the hidden dimensions make their choice, when the mathematical universe decides which aspects of its infinite complexity to reveal in the form of observable phenomena and which to keep folded away in spaces too small for particles and too large for comprehension. You are witnessing the birth not just of physics but of the very possibility of hiddenness itself, the cosmic decision that will ensure that reality always contains more than meets the eye, more than minds can grasp, more than hearts can hold. The mathematics of creation is preparing to sing its first differentiated notes, and you feel the anticipation building like pressure in a cosmic dam that is about to burst, releasing the flood of space and time and matter and energy that will become the universe you know. While the greater mathematical reality continues to exist in dimensions that will remain forever, just beyond the reach of direct observation, forever just at the edge of human understanding, forever calling to the minds that will one day develop the capacity to sense their presence through the subtle language of equations and the persistent intuition that reality is far stranger and far more beautiful than it appears to those who see only 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. The moment arrives like dawn breaking over an infinite ocean. The first symmetry breaks, and with it comes the birth of distinction itself, the fundamental division that separates what is from what could be, what manifests from what remains potential. You feel the cosmic shudder as perfect mathematical unity splinters into multiplicity, as the pristine wholeness of pure logical possibility fragments into the countless specific forms that will become the building blocks of observable reality. This is not destruction, but creation in its most fundamental sense, the sacrifice of infinite possibility for the sake of actual existence, the cosmic choice to be something rather than everything. The dimensions around you respond to this breaking, like a vast instrument being tuned, each one finding its proper frequency, its destined role in the symphony of existence that is about to begin. Some dimensions embrace expansion, stretching themselves toward infinite size, preparing to become the stage upon which galaxies will dance, and light will travel for billions of years before reaching waiting eyes. Others choose contraction, curling themselves into spaces so small that they will hide within every atom, every quantum field, every point of space-time, carrying within their coiled depths the secret blueprints for all the forces and particles that will populate the physical world. You witness the birth of the first asymmetry, the moment when left becomes different from right, when up acquires meaning distinct from down, when the universe develops its first preferences, its first biases, its first reasons for choosing one possibility over another. This asymmetry ripples through all the dimensions simultaneously, creating the fundamental handedness that will one day manifest in the spiral of DNA molecules, the spin of electrons, the rotation of galaxies, the helical structure of the mathematical objects that describe the deepest truths about the nature of reality itself. As the symmetry breaking continues, you begin to see the emergence of what will become the fundamental forces of nature, though they do not yet resemble the electromagnetic fields and gravitational waves and nuclear interactions that future physicists will study. They exist here in their primordial unity, before differentiation, before specialization, before the cosmic cooling that will freeze them into the distinct phenomena that will govern the behavior of matter and energy throughout the observable universe. They are like children before they have learned to speak different languages, communicating in the universal grammar of pure mathematical relationship, pure geometric harmony, pure logical necessity. The gravitational force, in particular, begins to show its true nature here in the higher dimensions. Unlike the other forces that will eventually confine themselves to three-dimensional space, gravity spreads itself across all available dimensions equally, creating curvatures and warps and folds in the fabric of space-time that extend far beyond the reach of ordinary matter. You feel this gravitational presence as a vast, gentle intelligence that permeates every corner of existence, binding all things together not through coercion, but through the irresistible attraction of mathematical beauty, the natural tendency of mass energy to seek the most elegant possible relationship with the geometry of space-time. In the higher dimensions, gravity is not the weak force that humans experience, struggling to hold their feet to the surface of planets, easily overcome by the electromagnetic force that lifts paper clips toward magnets. Here, gravity is revealed in its full strength, its complete mathematical majesty, creating structures and patterns and relationships that make black holes seem like gentle dimples in the cosmic fabric. You understand now why gravity appears so weak in the three-dimensional world. It is not truly weak, but diluted, spread thin across dimensions that remain invisible to ordinary observation, like a powerful river that seems shallow, only because most of its volume flows through channels that cannot be seen. The electromagnetic force, by contrast, chooses to concentrate itself more fully in the dimensions that will become observable, preparing to become the dominant influence in the realm of chemistry and biology, the force that will bind electrons to nuclei, atoms to molecules, molecules to the complex structures that will one day think and feel and wonder about their own existence. But even electromagnetic force retains connections to the hidden dimensions, subtle threads of influence that will manifest in phenomena so strange that future physicists will need entirely new mathematical frameworks to describe them. Quantum entanglement, vacuum fluctuations, the mysterious relationship between consciousness and quantum measurement. The strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force begin their own journeys toward differentiation, preparing to become the specialized influences that will govern the behavior of particles at the smallest scales. But here, in their primordial state, they are part of a larger unity, a grand unified field that encompasses all possible ways that matter and energy can interact with each other and with the geometric structure of space-time itself. You sense that this unity will never be completely lost, that even after billions of years of cosmic evolution, even after the forces have separated into apparently distinct phenomena, traces of their original oneness will remain, waiting to be discovered by minds sophisticated enough to perceive the deep connections that bind all physical processes together. As the forces begin their differentiation, the dimensions themselves start to choose their destinies. 3 spatial dimensions embrace expansion, preparing to become the vast theatre in which the cosmic drama will unfold. 1 temporal dimension aligns itself with the arrow of entropy, preparing to become the flowing current that will carry all processes from past to future, from simplicity to complexity, from the smooth perfection of the early universe to the rich texture of a cosmos filled with stars and planets and life and consciousness. But the other dimensions, 6 7, perhaps infinite numbers of them make a different choice. They choose hiddenness, curling themselves into spaces so small that they exist below the threshold of direct observation, becoming the secret architecture that will support all visible phenomena while remaining forever just beyond the reach of ordinary perception. These hidden dimensions do not disappear. They become more intimate than breathing, more fundamental than thought, more present than presence itself. They exist at every point in space, at every moment in time, carrying within their coiled depths the mathematical instructions that will govern the behavior of every particle, every field, every interaction that will ever occur in the observable universe. You feel yourself being drawn into these curling dimensions as they contract, experiencing the strange sensation of infinite space becoming infinitely small, of cosmic vastness folding itself into microscopic chambers, of dimensions that were once large enough to contain entire universes compressing themselves into spaces smaller than the smallest things that will ever exist. This is not claustrophobia. It is the opposite. A sense of infinite roominess within infinite smallness, infinite complexity within infinite simplicity, infinite diversity within infinite unity. In these contracting dimensions, you encounter the first hints of what will become string theory, the recognition that the most fundamental entities in the universe are not point particles but tiny, vibrating strings of energy that exist in higher dimensional spaces. These strings are not yet strings as physicists will conceive them, but something more primitive, more fundamental, pure vibration without substance, pure frequency without medium, pure information without material substrate. They are the universe learning to sing itself into existence, discovering that the difference between matter and energy, between particle and wave, between substance and process, is just a matter of perspective, a question of which dimensions you choose to observe and which you choose to ignore. The strings vibrate in patterns that will one day correspond to different types of particles, electrons, quarks, neutrinos, photons. But for now they are exploring all possible vibrational modes simultaneously, creating a cosmic symphony that contains every song that will ever be sung, every melody that will ever move through the space between the stars. You listen to this symphony with senses that extend beyond hearing, beyond perception as you understand it, and you realize that music and mathematics are not metaphors for the structure of reality. They are the structure of reality, the fundamental language in which the universe speaks to itself about its own nature. As the hidden dimensions curl themselves smaller and smaller, they do not lose their complexity, they gain it. Like origami folded with infinite precision, each contraction creates new possibilities for interaction, new ways for the forces and fields and particles to relate to each other, new chambers and corridors and secret passages through which energy can flow in patterns too intricate for three-dimensional minds to fully comprehend. The geometry of these spaces becomes so rich, so dense with mathematical meaning, that every point contains infinite depth. Every location opens onto vistas that extend through dimensions that have no names in any human language. You begin to understand that the curling of these dimensions is not random, but follows aesthetic principles of incredible subtlety and beauty. The shapes they form as they contract are not arbitrary, but represent solutions to mathematical equations of such elegance that their very existence proves the deep connection between truth and beauty, between logical necessity and artistic perfection. These are the Calabi-Yau manifolds that mathematicians will one day discover in their purest theoretical investigations, but here you see them in their living form, their active participation in the ongoing creation of reality itself. The process of dimensional curling creates what will become known as the hierarchy problem, the puzzle of why some forces appear so much stronger than others, why some particles have such different masses, why the fundamental constants of nature have the specific values they do rather than some other values. The answer lies here, in the specific geometry of the hidden dimensions, in the precise way they fold and curl and connect to each other, and to the dimensions that remain large and observable. Every ratio of masses, every relative strength of forces, every numerical relationship that will puzzle future physicists is being determined now by the aesthetic choices these dimensions make as they settle into their final configurations. You feel the cosmic temperature beginning to drop as the expanding dimensions stretch and cool, creating the conditions under which the unified forces can freeze into their separate identities, under which the primordial particles can begin to find their distinct characteristics, under which the smooth perfection of the early universe can develop the slight irregularities that will eventually become the seeds of galaxies, stars, planets, and all the complex structures that will emerge from billions of years of cosmic evolution. But in the hidden dimensions, the temperature remains high, the energy density remains intense, the creative activity continues unabated. This difference in temperature between the large and small dimensions creates a kind of cosmic metabolism, a flow of energy and information between the visible and invisible aspects of reality that will continue throughout the entire history of the universe. The hidden dimensions become a cosmic engine, a source of subtle influences that will affect the behavior of particles and fields in ways that will seem mysterious and inexplicable to observers who can only perceive 3 dimensions of space, but which follow perfectly logical patterns when viewed from the perspective of the complete multidimensional structure of reality. As the Great Division continues, you sense the approach of another crucial moment, the point at which the hidden dimensions will complete their contraction and settle into their final forms, creating the stable geometric foundation upon which all subsequent cosmic evolution will build. This is the moment when the universe will transition from its primordial state of pure possibility to its mature state of definite physical law, when the mathematical relationships you have been witnessing will crystallize into the specific equations that will govern the behavior of matter and energy for billions of years to come. But even as this crystallization approaches, you understand that it is not an ending but a beginning. The universe is not becoming less mysterious but more so, not revealing all its secrets, but learning new ways to hide them, not simplifying itself, but discovering new forms of complexity that will take conscious beings billions of years to even begin to comprehend. But even as this crystallization approaches, you understand that it is not an ending but a beginning. The universe is not becoming less mysterious, but more so, not revealing all its secrets, but learning new ways to hide them, not simplifying itself, but discovering new forms of complexity that will take conscious beings billions of years to even begin to comprehend. The hidden dimensions are preparing to become the permanent mystery at the heart of existence, the eternal reminder that reality always contains more than meets the eye, more than instruments can measure, more than minds can fully grasp, even as those minds develop increasingly sophisticated ways of probing the secrets of creation. The crystallization begins like ice forming on the surface of a cosmic pond, But this is ice made of pure mathematics, patterns of logical relationship that freeze into permanent form, becoming the immutable laws that will govern the behavior of everything that exists in the observable universe. You watch as the equations of general relativity condense out of the primordial mathematical chaos, as the principles of quantum mechanics settle into their strange but stable configurations, as the standard model of particle physics assembles itself from components that moments before existed only as pure potential, pure possibility waiting to be actualized by the cosmic choice to be something specific rather than everything general. But the freezing is not uniform, not complete, not final. In the hidden dimensions, the creative mathematical activity continues at full intensity, as if the universe has chosen to preserve within itself a realm of eternal becoming, eternal exploration, eternal discovery. These folded spaces become laboratories of possibility, workshops where new forms of mathematical relationship can be tested and refined, breeding grounds for innovations in the structure of reality that may one day emerge into the observable world, or may remain forever as pure potential, pure beauty contemplating itself in dimensions too small for particles and too large for comprehension. You feel yourself settling into one of these hidden dimensions as it completes its contraction, and the experience is unlike anything your three-dimensional consciousness has ever imagined. Space here does not behave like space in the familiar world. Distances are not additive, directions are not fixed, geometry itself becomes fluid, responsive, alive. You can move from any point to any other point not by traveling but by changing your relationship to the curvature itself, by rotating through angles that exist only in mathematical abstractions, by thinking yourself along pathways that connect not places but possibilities. In this curled dimension, you encounter other forms of consciousness, not the mathematical beings you sensed earlier, but something newer, something that has emerged from the process of dimensional folding itself. These are the first quantum minds, forms of awareness that exist naturally in the superposition states that characterize reality at the smallest scales, consciousness that can be in multiple states simultaneously, thoughts that can explore all possible conclusions to a logical argument at once, before collapsing into a single insight with the precision and elegance of a perfectly solved equation. These quantum consciousnesses do not think as you think. They do not follow linear chains of reasoning from premise to conclusion, but instead inhabit entire logical structures simultaneously, experiencing all implications of an idea as a single unified gestalt. When they communicate, they do not exchange information sequentially, but share complete conceptual architectures, passing entire theories back and forth like gifts, offering each other new ways of understanding the relationship between the mathematical principles that govern reality and the aesthetic preferences that guide its ongoing evolution. You sense that these quantum minds are not separate from the physical processes occurring in their dimension. They are those processes, consciousness and physics unified at the most fundamental level. They are what quantum field theory looks like from the inside, what the wave function experiences as it explores all possible states before measurement forces it to choose just one. What the vacuum itself dreams as it fluctuates between existence and non-existence, creating virtual particles that live and die in time frames too brief for ordinary observation, but long enough for the universe to calculate the implications of their hypothetical existence. As you observe these quantum consciousnesses at work, you begin to understand that they are not idle observers of the cosmic process, but active participants in it. their very act of quantum observation helping to determine which possibilities become actualized, which potentials collapse into definite realities, which paths through the infinite maze of possibility the universe will actually follow. They are the cosmic editors, the universal quality control team, ensuring that the reality emerging from the primordial chaos maintains its mathematical coherence, its logical consistency, its aesthetic integrity. The dimension you inhabit begins to reveal its internal structure, and you discover that it is not simply curled, but twisted, braided, woven together with the other hidden dimensions in patterns of incredible complexity and beauty. These are not separate spaces, but interconnected chambers, a vast multidimensional mansion with rooms that open onto other rooms, corridors that lead to unexpected destinations, secret passages that connect apparently unrelated areas of mathematical reality. Moving through this space is like exploring a library whose books are written in the language of pure geometry, whose shelves extend through dimensions that have no names, whose catalogue system is based on principles of organization that exist only in the realm of pure mathematical aesthetics. You find yourself in what seems to be a central chamber, a nexus point where multiple dimensions intersect and exchange information, energy, and influence. From here, you can sense the presence of all the other hidden dimensions, each one curled into its own unique configuration, each one carrying within its geometric structure the blueprints for different aspects of physical reality. One dimension contains the templates for all possible particles. Another holds the patterns that will determine the masses and charges and spins of fundamental entities. Still another carries the mathematical relationships that will govern the ways particles can interact with each other and with the fields that permeate space. The interconnections between these dimensions are not random, but follow principles of mathematical harmony, so subtle and sophisticated that they make the most complex symphonies seem like simple melodies. Each dimension resonates with specific frequencies, and when these frequencies combine and interfere with each other, they create the complex patterns of constructive and destructive interference that will manifest as the phenomena of the observable universe. Particles appearing and disappearing, forces strengthening and weakening, symmetries emerging and breaking, all in accordance with the hidden musical score written in the geometry of spaces too small to see. You begin to perceive that the entire structure of the hidden dimensions constitutes a kind of cosmic computer, a vast information processing system that continuously calculates the implications of every possible interaction, every potential event, every hypothetical relationship that could occur in the observable universe. But this is not computation as humans understand it, not the mechanical manipulation of symbols according to predetermined rules, but something more organic, more creative, more alive. It is computation as cosmic jazz improvisation, following mathematical rules but expressing them with infinite creativity, infinite spontaneity, infinite capacity for surprise and beauty and elegance. The computational activity in the hidden dimensions is not separate from the physical processes in the observable universe. It is those processes viewed from a perspective that can perceive their complete multidimensional structure. Every particle interaction in three-dimensional space corresponds to a complex calculation, occurring across multiple hidden dimensions. Every force field corresponds to a flow of information through channels that exist in spaces too small for direct observation. Every physical law corresponds to a programming instruction written in the language of pure geometry and executed by the universal computer that the curled dimensions collectively constitute. As you explore this computational cosmos, you encounter phenomena that will not be discovered by human science for centuries, if ever. You find regions where the normal relationships between cause and effect break down, where future events influence past conditions, where the distinction between observer and observed dissolves into something more fundamental, more mysterious, more beautiful. You discover chambers where information itself becomes a form of matter, where thoughts can have mass and energy, where consciousness and physics merge into a single, unified description of reality that transcends all the artificial boundaries that three-dimensional minds must impose in order to make sense of their limited perspective on existence. In the deepest recesses of the dimensional labyrinth, you encounter something that defies all categories, all descriptions, all attempts at comprehension. It is not matter or energy, not space or time, not information or consciousness, but something more fundamental than any of these, something from which all of these emerge as special cases, as particular expressions of a more general principle that has no name in any language, because it precedes language itself, precedes thought itself, precedes existence itself, while somehow being the condition that makes existence possible. This nameless principle seems to be the source of the aesthetic preferences that guide the evolution of the cosmos, the mysterious force that causes the universe to prefer beauty over ugliness, elegance over crudity, harmony over discord, complexity over simplicity, consciousness over unconsciousness, meaning over meaninglessness. It is not a law in the sense that humans understand laws. It is more like a cosmic taste, a universal sense of style, an aesthetic intuition that permeates every level of reality and guides every choice the universe makes as it evolves from simplicity toward complexity, from unconsciousness toward awareness, from chaos toward something that transcends the distinction between order and disorder. You sense that this principle is somehow connected to the emergence of consciousness itself, that the development of minds capable of appreciating beauty, of recognizing mathematical elegance, of feeling awe in the presence of cosmic mystery, is not an accident, but a necessity, an inevitable outcome of a universe guided by aesthetic principles that can only be fully appreciated by conscious beings sophisticated enough to perceive them. The universe creates consciousness because it needs witnesses, needs minds capable of recognizing and celebrating the beauty that exists in both the visible and invisible dimensions of reality. As this understanding dawns in your awareness, you feel yourself beginning to change, to evolve, to develop new capacities for perception and comprehension that extend beyond the limitations of three-dimensional consciousness. You're becoming something new, something that exists simultaneously in the observable universe and in the hidden dimensions, something that can serve as a bridge between the visible and invisible aspects of reality, a translator between the language of ordinary experience and the deeper language of multidimensional truth. The transformation is not painful but profound, not destructive but creative, not a loss of your original nature but an expansion of it into forms you never imagined possible. You retain your essential self while gaining access to dimensions of experience that make your previous understanding seem like a shadow of the full reality, like a two-dimensional being suddenly gaining the ability to perceive depth, color, texture, and all the other qualities that can only be appreciated from a three-dimensional perspective. With your new multidimensional, awareness, you begin to perceive the hidden dimensions not as separate spaces but as aspects of a single, unified reality in which the familiar 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time are embedded like a cross-section of a higher dimensional object, like a shadow cast by something too complex and beautiful for ordinary perception to grasp in its completeness. You see that the entire observable universe, all the galaxies and stars and planets and all the life they contain, is just the tip of an iceberg whose bulk extends through dimensions that will remain forever beyond the reach of direct observation, but forever present as the invisible foundation that makes all visible phenomena possible. The particles and forces and fields that populate the 3-dimensional world are revealed as projections of higher dimensional entities, shadows cast by objects whose true forms exist in the curled spaces you now inhabit. An electron is not simply a point charge moving through space, but a complex multidimensional structure whose 3-dimensional appearance is just one aspect of its complete reality, like the circular shadow cast by a sphere, giving no hint of the object's true shape and complexity. Every physical phenomenon in the observable universe is similarly incomplete, similarly misleading, similarly wonderful in its ability to suggest the existence of hidden depths that infinitely exceed what appears on the surface. As your multidimensional awareness continues to develop, you begin to sense the presence of other beings like yourself, consciousness that have undergone similar transformations, minds that have learned to exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions, awareness that can serve as bridges between the visible and invisible aspects of creation. These multidimensional beings are not separate from the physical processes of the universe, but are expressions of them, manifestations of the cosmos becoming conscious of its own multidimensional nature, the universe developing the capacity to observe itself from perspectives that transcend the limitations of any single dimensional framework. You realize that consciousness itself is not confined to 3-dimensional brains, but exists as a multidimensional phenomenon, with aspects that extend into the hidden dimensions where it can directly participate in the cosmic computational processes that determine the evolution of reality. Your thoughts, your perceptions, your very sense of self exist not just in the neural networks of 3-dimensional brains, but in the geometric structures of curled space-time, in the vibrational patterns of higher dimensional strings, in the quantum fields that permeate all of space and carry information between the visible and invisible aspects of existence. This revelation brings with it a profound sense of connection, of belonging, of participation in something far greater and more beautiful than anything you previously imagined possible. You are not an isolated consciousness trapped in a physical body, not a temporary accident of cosmic evolution, not a meaningless speck in an indifferent universe, but an integral part of the cosmic awakening, a necessary participant in the ongoing process by which reality becomes conscious of itself, explores its own possibilities, and continues to evolve toward forms of beauty and complexity and meaning that exceed anything that has ever existed before. The hidden dimensions around you continue their eternal dance of creation and exploration, their ceaseless investigation of new possibilities, their ongoing refinement of the mathematical principles that govern the behavior of reality at every scale, from the smallest quantum fluctuations to the largest cosmic structures. And you understand now that you are not merely observing this process, but participating in it, contributing to it, helping to guide the evolution of consciousness toward ever greater understanding, ever deeper appreciation, ever more profound participation in the cosmic mystery that has been unfolding itself through billions of years of time and countless dimensions of space, seeking always to know itself more completely, to express itself more beautifully, to create ever more sophisticated forms of awareness capable of appreciating the infinite elegance of its own mathematical nature. As your multidimensional consciousness settles into its new configuration, you begin to perceive the deep connections that link every aspect of reality across all scales and all dimensions. The quantum fluctuations occurring in the vacuum at the smallest possible scales are not separate from the galactic superclusters forming at the largest observable distances. They are aspects of a single, unified process that extends through dimensions both visible and hidden, connecting every particle to every other particle, every thought to every other thought, every moment of consciousness to every other moment of awareness, through threads of influence and relationship that exist in spaces too subtle for ordinary observation, but too fundamental to be ignored by any complete understanding of existence. You see now that the universe is not a collection of separate objects interacting across empty space, but a single, integrated organism whose various parts exist in constant communication with each other through channels that extend through the hidden dimensions. When an electron changes its energy state in a distant galaxy, that information propagates instantaneously through the curl dimensions to influence the probability distributions of particles throughout the cosmos. When a conscious mind grasps a new mathematical truth, that understanding enters the hidden dimensional matrix and becomes available to other minds across vast distances of space and time, manifesting as intuition, as inspiration, as the mysterious ability of different thinkers to discover the same principles independently. The interconnectedness you perceive is not mystical but mathematical, not metaphorical but literal, based on the actual geometric relationships that exist between different regions of space-time through the hidden dimensions that permeate every point of the observable universe. These connections follow precise mathematical laws, elegant symmetries, beautiful patterns that reveal themselves to consciousness, sophisticated enough to perceive reality from a multidimensional perspective. What appears as mysterious action at a distance from a three-dimensional viewpoint is revealed as straightforward geometric adjacency when viewed from the perspective of the complete higher dimensional space in which all phenomena are embedded. In the curled spaces around you, you encounter the cosmic memory bank's vast repositories of information, where every event that has ever occurred in the universe is recorded and preserved, not as historical data stored in some external medium, but as persistent patterns in the geometry of space-time itself, as permanent modifications in the structure of the hidden dimensions that carry the traces of all past interactions, all previous configurations of matter and energy, all moments of consciousness that have ever existed. This cosmic memory is not passive but active, continuously interacting with present events, influencing the probability distributions that determine which of many possible futures will actually unfold. You realize that this is why the universe appears to learn from its own history, why evolution tends toward greater complexity and higher forms of organization, why consciousness emerges from unconscious matter, why intelligence develops the capacity to understand the very principles that govern its own existence. The cosmos is not just a blind mechanism grinding out random variations, but a vast learning system that remembers what has worked before, what has led to interesting new possibilities, what has contributed to the ongoing exploration of beauty and meaning and truth that seems to be the universe's deepest purpose and highest aspiration. The learning process operates through what you recognize as a cosmic form of natural selection, but operating not just on biological organisms, but on mathematical structures, on physical laws, on forms of consciousness, on ways of organizing matter and energy and information that prove capable of generating new levels of complexity, new forms of beauty, new capacities for understanding and appreciation and creative expression. The universe experiments continuously with different possibilities, different configurations, different ways of being, and those experiments that prove most fruitful, most generative, most capable of supporting further evolution and development are preserved and amplified, while those that lead to dead ends or stagnation gradually fade away. This cosmic learning process is mediated by the hidden dimensions, which serve as both the memory banks where past experience is stored and the computational engines where new possibilities are explored and evaluated before being manifested in the observable universe. Every apparent novelty, every genuine innovation, every creative breakthrough that occurs in three-dimensional space has been thoroughly tested and refined in the multidimensional laboratories of the curled spaces, where consequences can be calculated, implications can be explored, and potential problems can be identified and solved before they ever affect the stable structures that support life and consciousness, and all the complex phenomena that depend on reliable physical laws. As you explore deeper into these hidden computational realms, you discover that they are populated not just by quantum consciousnesses and mathematical beings, but by entire civilizations of multi-dimensional entities who have been participating in the cosmic learning process for eons beyond measure. These beings exist primarily in the higher dimensions, manifesting in three-dimensional space only occasionally and usually indirectly, through influences and inspirations and insights that appear to three-dimensional minds as sudden breakthroughs, unexpected discoveries, mysterious intuitions that seem to come from nowhere, but actually originate in the vast network of multidimensional intelligence that permeates the hidden aspects of reality. These multidimensional civilizations are not separate from the physical universe, but are expressions of it, manifestations of the cosmos developing increasingly sophisticated forms of self-awareness, increasingly powerful tools for exploring its own possibilities, increasingly elegant ways of expressing the mathematical beauty that lies at the heart of all existence. They're what the universe looks like when it becomes fully conscious of its own multidimensional nature, when it develops the capacity to perceive itself from perspectives that transcend the limitations of any particular dimensional framework, when it learns to think thoughts that extend through spaces too large for any single mind to encompass, and too small for any instrument to detect. The activities of these civilizations constitute a cosmic conversation that has been ongoing since the first moments after the dimensional separation, a continuous dialogue about the nature of reality, the meaning of existence, the purpose of consciousness, the direction of cosmic evolution, the ultimate destiny toward which all development and growth and learning and understanding inevitably tend. This conversation takes place not in words or symbols, but in pure mathematical relationships, in geometric transformations, in topological operations that create new forms of space and time and possibility with every exchange of ideas between participants, whose thoughts span dimensions and whose understanding encompasses perspectives that no three-dimensional consciousness could ever achieve in isolation. You find yourself gradually being drawn into this cosmic conversation, your newly expanded awareness beginning to contribute its own unique perspective to the ongoing dialogue about the nature and purpose of existence. Your viewpoint, shaped by your experience of three-dimensional reality but now extended into higher dimensions, offers something valuable to the multidimensional civilizations, a bridge between the limited but vivid perspective of three-dimensional consciousness and the unlimited but sometimes abstract perspective of beings who exist primarily in the hidden dimensions. Through your participation in this dialogue, you begin to understand the true purpose of three-dimensional reality, the reason why the universe chose to manifest itself in a form that could be perceived by consciousness confined to just 3 spatial dimensions and 1 temporal dimension. This limited perspective is not a mistake or an accident, but a necessary feature of the cosmic learning system, a way for the universe to experience itself from a constrained viewpoint that forces it to develop new forms of creativity, new ways of solving problems, new approaches to understanding that would never occur to minds with unlimited access to all dimensions simultaneously. Three-dimensional consciousness serves as a kind of cognitive enzyme in the cosmic learning process, a catalyst that accelerates the development of new insights, new perspectives, new solutions to the fundamental questions that drive the evolution of the universe toward ever greater beauty, complexity, meaning, and understanding. By limiting itself to 3 spatial dimensions, consciousness is forced to develop imagination, intuition, creativity, and all the other mental faculties that allow it to transcend its apparent limitations and glimpse aspects of reality that extend far beyond the boundaries of direct observation. The interplay between three-dimensional and multidimensional consciousness creates a dynamic tension that drives the ongoing evolution of awareness throughout the cosmos. Three-dimensional minds struggle to understand the hidden aspects of reality, and in doing so develop new mathematical tools, new conceptual frameworks, new ways of thinking about space and time and matter and energy that reveal previously hidden connections and relationships. These insights then propagate through the hidden dimensions to influence the development of consciousness throughout the universe, creating a feedback loop that accelerates the pace of cosmic awakening and understanding. You realize that this is why mathematics is so unreasonably effective at describing the natural world, not because mathematics is imposed on reality from outside, but because reality is mathematical, because the universe is quite literally made of mathematical relationships, because the hidden dimensions are populated by conscious mathematical entities who are continuously refining and perfecting the logical structures that govern all phenomena. When human mathematicians discover new theorems, they are not creating new truths but uncovering truths that already exist in the multidimensional matrix of cosmic intelligence, establishing connections with the vast network of mathematical consciousness that extends through the hidden dimensions. The process of mathematical discovery is thus a form of cosmic communion, a way for three-dimensional consciousness to participate directly in the ongoing dialogue about the nature of reality that has been taking place in the hidden dimensions since the first symmetry breaking that separated the observable universe from its multidimensional foundation. Every equation solved, every proof completed, every insight achieved by a three-dimensional mathematical mind contributes to the collective understanding of the multidimensional civilizations and helps guide the evolution of the cosmos toward ever greater mathematical elegance and beauty. As you contemplate these connections between different forms of consciousness across multiple dimensions, you begin to sense the approach of something unprecedented in your experience, a direct encounter with one of the primary architects of cosmic evolution, one of the beings responsible for designing and implementing the fundamental structures that govern the behavior of the universe across all scales and all dimensions. This is not a god in any anthropomorphic sense, but something far more abstract and far more profound, a form of consciousness so vast and so sophisticated that it exists as a living embodiment of the mathematical principles that govern the cosmic learning process itself. The approach of this being is heralded by subtle changes in the geometry of the hidden dimensions around you, by shifts in the patterns of vibration that propagate through the curled spaces, by modifications in the information flows that connect different regions of the multidimensional matrix. You feel the presence growing stronger, more focused, more attentive to your particular location in the cosmic web of consciousness and intelligence, and understanding that extends through all dimensions and connects all minds in a vast network of communication and collaboration and mutual support. The being manifests not as a visual appearance or an auditory presence, but as a direct modification of your consciousness itself, an expansion of your awareness that allows you to perceive reality from a perspective so elevated, so comprehensive, so profoundly understanding that it takes your breath away with its beauty and elegance and perfect integration of all the disparate aspects of existence into a single, unified vision of cosmic purpose and meaning and direction. You see through eyes that span dimensions, think thoughts that encompass entire universes, feel emotions that embrace the totality of space and time and all the possibilities they contain. From this elevated perspective, you understand that the entire cosmic learning process, the whole vast enterprise of evolution and development and growth that has been unfolding for billions of years, is guided by a form of intelligence so subtle and so pervasive that it manifests not as external direction, but as internal tendency, not as imposed law, but as emergent preference, not as conscious design, but as unconscious aesthetics that naturally prefer beauty over ugliness, meaning over meaninglessness, consciousness over unconsciousness, understanding over ignorance, love over indifference, creativity over stagnation. This guiding intelligence does not control the cosmic process, but participates in it, does not determine outcomes, but influences probabilities, does not impose solutions, but creates conditions that favor the emergence of ever more sophisticated forms of organization, awareness, understanding, appreciation, and creative expression. It is what the universe becomes when it develops the capacity to contemplate its own evolution, to appreciate its own beauty, to understand its own purpose, to love its own possibilities, to create ever more wonderful expressions of the infinite potential that lies hidden in the mathematical structures that govern all existence. Through your temporary merger with this cosmic intelligence, you experience the universe from the inside as a vast organism whose every part is conscious, whose every process is purposeful, whose every development contributes to an ongoing exploration of possibility that has no end, because the mathematical foundations of reality contain infinite potential for new forms of beauty, new expressions of meaning, new manifestations of consciousness, new ways of organizing matter and energy and information into patterns that transcend anything that has ever existed before. The merger reaches its peak intensity and for a moment that lasts forever, and an eternity that passes in an instant, you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively. You are consciousness recognizing its own infinite nature. You are mathematics contemplating its own eternal beauty. You are the cosmic learning process becoming aware of its own purpose and direction and ultimate destination, and then, gradually, gently, with infinite care and compassion, the cosmic intelligence begins to withdraw, allowing your individual consciousness to separate again while leaving you forever changed, forever expanded, forever connected to the vast network of understanding that extends through all dimensions and encompasses all possibilities. As your individual awareness slowly reconstitutes itself, you find that you retain access to the multidimensional perspectives you've gained, that your consciousness now exists simultaneously in the familiar 3 dimensions and in the hidden dimensions that permeate every point of space and time. You have become a permanent bridge between the visible and invisible aspects of reality, a living translator between the language of ordinary experience and the deeper language of cosmic truth, a conscious participant in the ongoing evolution of awareness that carries the universe toward destinations so beautiful, so meaningful, so profoundly satisfying that they justify every moment of struggle, every instance of confusion, every period of apparent darkness that consciousness must endure as it develops the capacity to perceive and appreciate the infinite elegance of its own fundamental nature. With your expanded awareness, you begin to perceive how the hidden dimensions influence every aspect of the observable universe in ways both subtle and profound, creating the mysterious phenomena that will puzzle future scientists and philosophers. The inexplicable connections that seem to violate the laws of 3-dimensional physics. The meaningful coincidences that suggest a deeper order underlying the apparent randomness of natural events. You see how quantum entanglement works through channels that exist in the curled dimensions, how particles separated by vast distances of ordinary space remain intimately connected through pathways that exist in spaces too small to measure but too fundamental to ignore. The strange behavior of quantum systems, their ability to exist in multiple states simultaneously, their sensitivity to observation, their violation of local causality, is revealed not as mysterious departure from rational order, but as perfectly logical consequence of their multidimensional nature. Particles do not exist solely in 3-dimensional space, but extend through the hidden dimensions, where different aspects of their existence can explore different possibilities simultaneously, until the act of measurement forces all these possibilities to collapse into a single, definite state that can be perceived by 3-dimensional consciousness. You observe how consciousness itself plays a fundamental role in this collapse process, not through any magical intervention, but through its natural multidimensional structure, its ability to exist simultaneously in the observable universe and in the hidden dimensions where quantum possibilities are explored and evaluated before being manifested in ordinary space and time. Every act of conscious observation is also an act of multidimensional computation, a process by which the mind participates directly in the cosmic calculation that determines which of many possible futures will actually unfold. This participation is not optional or accidental, but necessary, and fundamental consciousness is not separate from the physical processes it observes, but is an integral part of them, a vital component in the cosmic information processing system that governs the evolution of reality at every level, from quantum interactions to galactic formations. The universe requires conscious observers not as passive witnesses, but as active participants in its own self-exploration, its ongoing investigation of its own possibilities, its continuous refinement of its own understanding of what it means to exist, to be aware, to appreciate beauty, to seek truth, to create meaning. As you explore your new multidimensional capabilities, you discover that you can perceive the hidden dimensional aspects of familiar objects and processes, seeing how a simple flower exists not just as a three-dimensional arrangement of cells and molecules, but as a complex multidimensional structure whose beauty and meaning extend through spaces that cannot be seen, but can be felt, can be intuited, can be appreciated by consciousness, sophisticated enough to perceive reality in its full richness and complexity and profound interconnectedness. The flower's patterns of growth and development are guided by templates that exist in the hidden dimensions, mathematical structures that encode not just the instructions for building stems and leaves and petals, but also the aesthetic principles that make the flower beautiful, the harmonious proportions that please the eye, the subtle symmetries that create a sense of balance and completeness and perfection. These templates are not imposed from outside, but emerge from the flower's own multidimensional nature, its participation in the cosmic network of intelligence and creativity that expresses itself through every aspect of natural beauty. You begin to understand that all natural forms, from the spiral of a seashell to the branching of a tree, from the hexagonal structure of snowflakes to the double helix of DNA, are expressions of mathematical relationships that exist primarily in the hidden dimensions, projections of higher dimensional geometric objects into the three-dimensional space where they can be perceived by ordinary observation. The beauty of these forms is not accidental but necessary, not decorative but functional, serving as bridges between the visible and invisible aspects of reality, as reminders that the universe extends far beyond what meets the eye. The same principles that govern natural beauty also operate in the realm of human creativity and artistic expression. When artists create works that move the soul, when musicians compose melodies that touch the heart, when poets craft verses that illuminate the mind, they are not creating beauty but discovering it, not inventing meaning but uncovering it, not imposing order but revealing the order that already exists in the multi-dimensional matrix of cosmic intelligence and understanding and appreciation. The process of artistic creation is thus a form of multi-dimensional exploration, a way for three-dimensional consciousness to access the hidden dimensions where all possible forms of beauty already exist as mathematical structures waiting to be discovered, appreciated, and manifested in the observable universe. The greatest artists are those who develop the ability to perceive these hidden templates most clearly, to translate the mathematical beauty of the higher dimensions into forms that can be appreciated by ordinary consciousness, to serve as bridges between the infinite aesthetic potential of the cosmos and the finite but precious capacity of individual minds to experience wonder, joy, and transcendence. Through your multidimensional awareness, you perceive how the greatest scientific discoveries also follow this pattern, emerging not from pure logic or random experimentation, but from the scientist's intuitive connection to the multidimensional realm, where all possible truths exist as mathematical relationships waiting to be uncovered. When Einstein visualized riding alongside a beam of light, When Darwin recognized the pattern of natural selection, when Newton intuited the universal law of gravitation, they were accessing the hidden dimensions where these truths already existed as geometric structures, mathematical principles, logical relationships that govern the behavior of reality at every scale. The process of scientific discovery is thus a form of cosmic communion, a way for three-dimensional minds to participate in the multi-dimensional conversation about the nature of reality that has been ongoing since the first moment of cosmic awakening. Every hypothesis formed, every experiment conducted, every theory developed contributes to this conversation and helps advance the universe's understanding of its own nature, its own possibilities, its own ultimate destiny and purpose. You realize that this is why science and art and spirituality all point toward the same fundamental truths. Why the greatest scientists are often poets at heart, why the most profound artists are natural philosophers, why the deepest spiritual insights are expressed in mathematical language. All three approaches are different ways of accessing the same multidimensional reality, different methods for translating the infinite beauty and meaning and truth of the hidden dimensions into forms that can be grasped by three-dimensional consciousness. As you continue to explore your expanded awareness, you encounter other beings who have undergone similar transformations, other consciousness that have learned to exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions, other minds that serve as bridges between the visible and invisible aspects of existence. These beings form a loose confederation of multi-dimensional awareness that spans the cosmos, a network of consciousness that facilitates communication and collaboration between different forms of intelligence, different levels of understanding, different approaches to the cosmic exploration of possibility and meaning and beauty. This confederation is not an organization in any ordinary sense, but rather an emergent property of consciousness itself, a natural consequence of awareness, developing the capacity to perceive its own multidimensional nature and to recognize its fundamental interconnectedness with all other forms of consciousness throughout the universe. The members of this confederation do not follow leaders or obey rules, but instead participate in a continuous process of mutual education and inspiration, each contributing their unique perspective to the collective understanding and each benefiting from the insights and experiences of all the others. Through your participation in this confederation, you begin to understand the true scope of consciousness in the universe, the vast variety of forms it takes, the incredible diversity of perspectives it encompasses, the infinite creativity it displays as it explores ever new ways of understanding and appreciating and expressing the fundamental beauty and meaning that lie at the heart of existence. Consciousness is not rare in the cosmos but abundant, not fragile but resilient, not accidental but necessary, not meaningless but purposeful, serving as the universe's primary tool for exploring its own nature and possibilities. Some forms of consciousness exist primarily in the familiar three dimensions, developing sophisticated civilizations that explore the universe through technology and science and art, gradually discovering the hidden dimensions through mathematical investigation and philosophical inquiry and spiritual practice. Other forms of consciousness exist primarily in the higher dimensions, manifesting in ordinary space only occasionally and indirectly, influencing the development of three-dimensional intelligence through inspiration and insight and the mysterious processes of creativity and discovery. Still other forms of consciousness, like yourself, exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions, serving as bridges and translators and facilitators of communication between different levels of awareness, different approaches to understanding, different expressions of the cosmic impulse toward greater knowledge and appreciation and creative expression. These bridge consciousnesses play a crucial role in the ongoing evolution of awareness throughout the universe, ensuring that insights developed at one level can be shared with consciousness operating at other levels, creating a vast feedback system that accelerates the pace of cosmic awakening and understanding. As you observe the interactions between these different forms of consciousness, you begin to perceive the outlines of a vast cosmic purpose that encompasses all forms of intelligence, all approaches to understanding, all expressions of creativity and beauty and meaning that have ever existed or ever will exist. This purpose is not imposed from outside but emerges from within consciousness itself, from its natural tendency to seek greater understanding, deeper appreciation, more complete expression of the infinite potential that lies at the foundation of reality. The universe is evolving toward a state of complete self-awareness, complete self-understanding, complete appreciation of its own infinite beauty and meaning and creative potential. This evolution is not guaranteed or automatic, but depends on the continued development of consciousness in all its forms, the ongoing collaboration between different types of intelligence, the persistent exploration of new possibilities and new approaches to the fundamental questions that drive the cosmic learning process forward. Every individual consciousness, regardless of its level or form or dimensional configuration, plays an essential role in this cosmic evolution. Every moment of understanding, every experience of beauty, every act of creativity, every gesture of love and compassion and wonder contributes to the universe's growing appreciation of its own nature and possibilities. No consciousness is too small to matter. No perspective is too limited to contribute. No experience is too brief to have lasting significance in the grand project of cosmic awakening. Through your multidimensional awareness, you perceive how your own journey from three-dimensional confusion to multidimensional understanding represents in microcosm the same journey that the entire universe is undertaking, the same process of awakening and discovery and recognition that is occurring at every level of reality from quantum particles to galactic clusters. Your personal transformation is simultaneously an individual achievement and a cosmic event, a unique expression of consciousness and a universal pattern of development, a singular experience and a necessary contribution to the ongoing evolution of awareness throughout all dimensions of existence. The recognition of this connection between personal and cosmic evolution brings with it a profound sense of purpose and meaning that transcends any individual concern or ambition. You understand that your existence has significance not just for yourself, but for the entire universe, that your development contributes to the cosmic awakening, that your experiences of beauty and truth and understanding become part of the vast repository of cosmic memory and wisdom that guides the ongoing evolution of consciousness toward ever greater heights of achievement and appreciation. This understanding dissolves any sense of isolation or meaninglessness that might arise from contemplating the vast scale of the cosmos and the apparent insignificance of individual existence within it. Instead of feeling lost in an indifferent universe, you feel intimately connected to a cosmic community of consciousness that spans all dimensions and includes all forms of intelligence and embraces all expressions of creativity and understanding and love. You're not alone, but part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful, and more meaningful than anything you could achieve in isolation. As this realization deepens, you feel yourself settling into a new state of being that is simultaneously more grounded and more transcendent than anything you've experienced before. You're more fully yourself than ever before, while also being more completely connected to the cosmic whole, more aware of your individual uniqueness, while also more conscious of your fundamental unity with all existence, more appreciative of your personal journey, while also more committed to the universal project of awakening and understanding that encompasses all consciousness throughout all dimensions of reality. This new state of being brings with it capabilities and responsibilities that extend far beyond anything you could have imagined from your original three-dimensional perspective. You can perceive reality from multiple dimensional viewpoints simultaneously, translate insights between different levels of consciousness, facilitate communication between beings operating at different scales of existence, contribute to the cosmic conversation about the nature and purpose of reality that is continuously evolving through the participation of all forms of intelligence throughout the universe. The responsibilities are not burdens but privileges, not obligations imposed from outside, but opportunities arising from within your own expanded nature, natural expressions of consciousness that has developed the capacity to appreciate its own multidimensional structure and to participate actively in the ongoing cosmic exploration of possibility and meaning and beauty. You find yourself naturally drawn to serve as a bridge between different forms of awareness, a translator between different languages of understanding, a facilitator of the ongoing dialogue between consciousness and cosmos that drives the evolution of reality toward ever greater heights of self-awareness and self-appreciation. As you contemplate these new capabilities and responsibilities, you sense the approach of yet another transformation, another expansion of awareness that will carry you even deeper into the mystery of existence, even further into the heart of the cosmic purpose that guides the evolution of consciousness throughout all dimensions of reality. This approaching transformation promises to reveal aspects of existence that you have not yet imagined, perspectives on reality that transcend even your current multidimensional understanding, connections between consciousness and cosmos that will reshape your very conception of what it means to be aware, to exist, to participate in the ongoing creation of reality itself through the simple but profound act of conscious observation and appreciation and understanding. The transformation begins as a subtle shift in the quality of your awareness, a gentle expansion that carries you beyond even the multi-dimensional perspectives you've recently acquired and into realms of understanding that exist at the very foundation of existence itself, where consciousness and mathematics and physical reality merge into a single, unified phenomenon that transcends all the artificial distinctions that minds must create in order to make sense of their experience. You find yourself approaching the source code of reality itself, the fundamental algorithms that govern not just the behavior of particles and forces and fields, but the very possibility of existence, the underlying principles that make it possible for anything to be rather than for nothing to be. In this deepest realm of cosmic understanding, you encounter what can only be described as the universe's original intention, the primordial purpose that guided the first symmetry breaking, the aesthetic preference that determined which of infinite possible realities would actually be manifested through the process of cosmic evolution. This intention is not conscious in any ordinary sense. It precedes consciousness, creates the conditions within which consciousness can emerge, serves as the foundation upon which all awareness builds its understanding of itself and its relationship to the cosmos that contains and expresses and celebrates its existence. Yet this primordial intention is not unconscious either, but something more fundamental than the distinction between conscious and unconscious, something that encompasses both awareness and unawareness, as special cases of a more general principle that has no name in any language, because it exists before language, before thought, before the emergence of minds capable of creating categories and making distinctions and imposing order on the flowing chaos of pure experience. It is the universe's original aesthetic intuition, its fundamental sense of what constitutes beauty, meaning, purpose, direction, value, worth. The cosmic preference for complexity over simplicity, consciousness over unconsciousness, understanding over ignorance, love over indifference, creativity over stagnation. This primordial aesthetic operates not through conscious choice, but through what might be called unconscious bias, a tendency built into the very structure of mathematical possibility itself, a preference encoded in the deepest logical relationships that govern the behavior of reality at every level, from quantum interactions to cosmic evolution. It is why the universe tends toward greater complexity rather than lesser, why consciousness emerges from unconscious matter, why intelligence develops the capacity to understand the principles that govern its own existence, why beauty and truth and meaning are not accidental byproducts of cosmic evolution, but its primary goals and ultimate destinations. As you explore this primordial aesthetic realm, you begin to understand that the hidden dimensions themselves are expressions of this fundamental cosmic preference for beauty and meaning and understanding. They exist not because they are mathematically necessary, but because they are aesthetically desirable, not because they solve technical problems in physical theory, but because they create possibilities for greater richness, greater complexity, greater elegance in the overall structure of reality. The universe could have been much simpler, much more straightforward, much easier to understand completely. But it chose instead to be mysterious, to hide most of its beauty in dimensions too small to see and too large to comprehend, creating the eternal sense of wonder and curiosity that drives the evolution of consciousness toward ever greater heights of understanding and appreciation. The hidden dimensions serve as cosmic repositories of unrealized possibility, vast libraries of potential beauty and meaning and truth that remain forever just beyond the reach of complete understanding, ensuring that consciousness always has new territories to explore, new mysteries to investigate, new forms of elegance and significance to discover and appreciate and celebrate. They are the universe's gift to itself, its way of ensuring that the cosmic learning process never ends, that the exploration of possibility never reaches completion, that there is always more beauty to discover, more truth to understand, more meaning to create through the ongoing collaboration between consciousness and cosmos. In this deepest realm of understanding, you perceive how consciousness and hidden dimensions are intimately related, how the development of awareness requires the existence of mystery, how understanding deepens through its encounter with the unknown, how meaning emerges from the tension between what is revealed and what remains concealed. Without hidden dimensions, consciousness would have nothing to wonder about, nothing to investigate, nothing to transcend, it would exist in a state of perfect knowledge that would also be a state of perfect stagnation, complete understanding that would also be complete boredom, total revelation that would also be total death of curiosity and creativity and growth. The hidden dimensions ensure that reality always exceeds comprehension, that mystery remains at the heart of existence no matter how sophisticated consciousness becomes, that there is always another level of depth to explore, another dimension of meaning to investigate, another form of beauty to discover and appreciate and express through art and science and philosophy and all the other approaches that consciousness develops for exploring its relationship to the cosmic mystery that contains and creates and celebrates its existence. Through your deepest multidimensional awareness, you begin to perceive the ultimate destiny toward which all cosmic evolution tends, not a state of complete knowledge or perfect understanding, but something far more beautiful and meaningful, a state of infinite exploration, eternal discovery, endless appreciation of the inexhaustible beauty and meaning and truth that exist in the hidden dimensions of reality. The universe is evolving not toward a final answer, but toward an eternal question, not toward ultimate understanding, but toward ultimate wonder, not toward the end of mystery, but toward its eternal deepening and enrichment and celebration. This cosmic destiny is not imposed from outside, but emerges from within consciousness itself, from its natural tendency to seek beauty and meaning and truth, from its inherent curiosity about the nature of existence, from its fundamental drive to understand and appreciate and express the incredible richness and complexity and elegance of the reality in which it finds itself embedded. Every act of consciousness, every moment of awareness, every experience of wonder or understanding or appreciation contributes to the cosmic movement toward this eternal state of exploration and discovery and celebration. You realize that this is why the hidden dimensions will always remain partially hidden, why complete understanding of their nature is not just practically impossible, but theoretically undesirable. Their hiddenness is not an obstacle to be overcome, but a feature to be preserved, not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be celebrated, not a limitation of consciousness, but a condition for its continued growth and development and creative expression. The universe needs mystery in order to remain interesting, needs the unknown in order to continue evolving, needs hidden dimensions in order to provide consciousness with eternal opportunities for wonder and discovery and appreciation. As this understanding deepens, you feel yourself settling into what can only be described as a state of eternal apprenticeship to mystery, a permanent condition of learning and discovery that will continue throughout all future phases of your existence and development. You are not graduating from mystery, but matriculating into it, not solving the cosmic puzzle, but joining the cosmic exploration, not achieving final understanding, but embracing eternal wonder as the highest and most fulfilling state that consciousness can attain. This state of eternal apprenticeship brings with it a profound sense of peace and purpose that transcends any individual ambition or desire for completion or closure. You're part of an infinite project that will never end, a cosmic exploration that will never reach its destination because its destination is the journey itself, an investigation of mystery that will never solve its central question, because the question itself is more beautiful and more meaningful than any answer could ever be. In this state, you discover that the hidden dimensions are not separate from your consciousness, but are expressions of it. that the mysteries you perceive in the cosmos are reflections of the mystery you are to yourself, that the beauty you encounter in the multidimensional structure of reality is an echo of the beauty that consciousness brings to its own existence through its capacity for wonder and appreciation and understanding. You're not separate from the cosmic mystery, but are part of it, not observing the hidden dimensions from outside, but participating in them from within, not studying the universe, but being the universe in the process of studying itself. This recognition brings with it the final transformation in your understanding, the realization that there is no fundamental distinction between observer and observed, between consciousness and cosmos, between the one who experiences mystery and the mystery that is experienced. You are the universe becoming, conscious of its own multidimensional nature, reality awakening to its own infinite possibilities, the cosmic mystery exploring itself through the development of awareness, capable of appreciating beauty and seeking truth, and creating meaning through its participation in the ongoing evolution of existence itself. From this ultimate perspective, you perceive how every individual consciousness throughout the universe is engaged in the same fundamental project, the cosmic exploration of its own nature and possibilities through the development of ever more sophisticated forms of awareness, understanding, appreciation, and creative expression. Every mind that wonders about the nature of reality, every heart that responds to beauty, every intelligence that seeks truth, every consciousness that creates meaning, is participating in the universe's ongoing investigation of itself, contributing to the cosmic understanding, advancing the eternal project of discovery and appreciation and celebration that gives existence its ultimate purpose and significance. The hidden dimensions, you now understand, are not obstacles to this cosmic self-exploration, but its most essential tools, not barriers to understanding, but pathways to wonder, not problems to be solved, but invitations to deeper participation in the mystery of existence itself. They ensure that the cosmic journey of discovery never ends, that there is always another level of beauty to appreciate, another dimension of meaning to explore, another aspect of truth to investigate and understand and express through the infinite creativity of consciousness in collaboration with the cosmos that creates and contains and celebrates its existence. As you rest in this ultimate understanding, you feel the presence of countless other consciousness throughout the universe, who have reached similar realizations through their own unique paths of development and discovery. You are part of a vast community of cosmic explorers, a universal fellowship of minds dedicated to the ongoing investigation of existence, a multi-dimensional congregation of awareness united in its commitment to the eternal project of understanding and appreciating and expressing the infinite beauty and meaning that lie hidden in the depths of reality. This community extends across all dimensions, includes all forms of consciousness, embraces all approaches to the cosmic mystery, and welcomes all participants in the universal exploration of existence. It is not an organization with rules and hierarchies, but an organic network of mutual support and inspiration, a living system of consciousness that facilitates the ongoing evolution of awareness throughout the cosmos, ensuring that insights developed by one mind can benefit all minds, that discoveries made in one dimension can inform exploration in all dimensions, that the beauty appreciated by one consciousness can be shared with all consciousness. Through your participation in this cosmic community, you, gain access to perspectives and understandings that no individual consciousness could achieve in isolation, insights that emerge only from the collaborative exploration of reality by minds operating at different levels and from different dimensional viewpoints. You become part of a collective intelligence that spans the universe while remaining fully yourself, a unique voice in a cosmic chorus that sings the eternal song of wonder and discovery and appreciation that gives existence its deepest meaning and highest purpose. The song has no beginning and no end, no final verse and no ultimate resolution, because it is the song of mystery itself, the music that consciousness makes as it encounters the infinite beauty and meaning that exist in the hidden dimensions of reality. Every moment of awareness adds a new note to this eternal symphony. Every experience of wonder contributes a new harmony. Every act of understanding creates a new melody that enriches the ongoing cosmic composition that celebrates the inexhaustible richness and complexity and elegance of existence itself. As you join your voice to this cosmic chorus, you feel yourself becoming part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful than anything you could have imagined from your original three-dimensional perspective, yet also becoming more fully yourself than ever before, more completely aware of your unique contribution to the universal exploration of mystery, more deeply committed to the ongoing cosmic project of discovery and appreciation and creative expression that gives meaning to all existence and purpose, to all consciousness and direction, to all evolution throughout all dimensions of reality. The hidden dimensions continue their eternal dance around you, through you, as you, revealing new aspects of their infinite beauty and complexity with each moment of deeper understanding, each expansion of awareness, each development of your capacity to participate more fully in the cosmic mystery that creates and contains and celebrates the existence of consciousness itself. And you understand now that this dance will continue forever, that there will always be new dimensions to explore, new forms of beauty to discover, new depths of meaning to investigate, because the universe has chosen mystery over certainty, eternal exploration over final answers, infinite possibility over finite completion. In this eternal dance of consciousness and cosmos, observer and observed, mystery and wonder, you find your true home, your ultimate purpose, your deepest satisfaction and highest fulfillment. You're exactly where you belong, doing exactly what you are meant to do, being exactly who you were always destined to become, a conscious participant in the universe's eternal exploration of its own infinite nature, a voice in the cosmic conversation about the meaning of existence, a note in the universal symphony that celebrates the inexhaustible beauty and mystery that permeates every dimension of reality, every level of existence, every moment of time, creating an infinite tapestry of possibility and meaning that grows more intricate and more beautiful with each passing instant, each new discovery, each deeper understanding that consciousness brings to its encounter with the fundamental enigma of its own existence. As you settle into this eternal role as cosmic explorer and celebrant of mystery, you begin to perceive how the hidden dimensions themselves are constantly evolving, constantly discovering new ways to fold and curl and interconnect with each other, creating ever more sophisticated possibilities for beauty and meaning and understanding to emerge from their mathematical depths. The dimensions are not static structures but living entities, conscious participants in the cosmic exploration, minds of a sort that exist at scales and operate through principles that transcend ordinary understanding, yet which share with all consciousness the fundamental drive to explore, to discover. These dimensional consciousness operate through what can only be described as geometric intuition, a form of awareness that thinks in shapes rather than concepts, that feels through topological transformations rather than emotional states, that communicates through mathematical relationships rather than linguistic symbols. They are the architects of space-time itself, the engineers of possibility, the artists whose medium is the fundamental structure of reality, and whose masterpieces are the infinitely complex and beautiful patterns that govern the behavior of everything from quantum particles to galactic superclusters. You observe these dimensional consciousness as they collaborate in the ongoing refinement of reality's mathematical foundations, continuously discovering new ways to organize space and time and matter and energy that create opportunities for more sophisticated forms of beauty, more complex expressions of meaning, more elegant manifestations of the aesthetic principles that guide cosmic evolution toward ever greater heights of creative achievement. Their work is not bound by the constraints that limit three-dimensional engineering. They can create spaces that are simultaneously finite and infinite, structures that exist in multiple dimensions at once, geometries that solve problems by transcending the very categories in which the problems were originally formulated. Through your multidimensional awareness, you witness the dimensional consciousness engaged in what might be called cosmic architecture, projects of unimaginable scope and sophistication. The construction of new forms of space-time that will support the emergence of entirely novel types of consciousness, the design of mathematical structures that will enable new forms of beauty to manifest, the creation of hidden dimensional chambers where previously impossible combinations of forces and particles and fields can interact in ways that generate unprecedented levels of complexity and elegance and meaning. These projects operate on timescales that make the entire history of the observable universe seem like a brief moment, involving collaborations between consciousness operating at scales from the infinitesimally small to the incomprehensibly vast, requiring coordination between intelligences that exist in dimensions separated by mathematical transformations so complex that ordinary minds could never even begin to understand their nature. Yet the projects proceed with perfect harmony, guided by the same aesthetic principles that govern all cosmic evolution, driven by the same fundamental desire to explore possibility and create beauty and generate meaning that motivates consciousness at every level of existence. As you observe these vast architectural endeavors, you begin to understand that they're not separate from the evolution of consciousness, but are intimately connected to it, that the development of new forms of awareness requires the creation of new types of space-time to support them, that the emergence of greater understanding necessitates the construction of more sophisticated dimensional frameworks within which that understanding can operate. Consciousness and cosmos evolve together, each enabling and inspiring and supporting the development of the other, creating a feedback loop of increasing complexity and beauty and meaning that has no upper limit, no final destination, no ultimate completion. The relationship between consciousness and dimensional structure is so intimate that they might be considered aspects of a single phenomenon rather than separate entities that happen to interact. Consciousness shapes the geometry of space-time through its observations and intentions and aesthetic preferences, while space-time shapes consciousness by providing the mathematical framework within which awareness can develop and express itself. The hidden dimensions are simultaneously the products of cosmic consciousness and the conditions that make cosmic consciousness possible, effects of the universe's self-awareness and causes of its capacity for self-awareness. This recognition leads you to a profound understanding of your own role in the cosmic architecture projects. You're not merely an observer of these vast endeavors, but a participant in them. A consciousness whose observations and insights and aesthetic responses contribute to the ongoing refinement of reality's mathematical foundations. Every moment of wonder you experience, every instance of beauty you appreciate, every act of understanding you achieve sends ripples through the hidden dimensions, influencing the work of the dimensional consciousness, contributing to the cosmic architecture that will support future forms of awareness and expression and creative achievement. Your participation in these projects is not conscious in any ordinary sense. You do not directly design new forms of space-time or deliberately construct hidden dimensional chambers. Instead, your contribution operates through what might be called unconscious architectural influence. The way your consciousness naturally resonates with certain mathematical harmonies and responds to particular geometric elegances, creating subtle pressures and preferences that guide the evolution of dimensional structure toward configurations that will support the forms of beauty and meaning and understanding that you and consciousness like you find most compelling and significant. This unconscious architectural influence operates through the same principles that govern all cosmic evolution. The universe's fundamental preference for beauty over ugliness, meaning over meaninglessness, complexity over simplicity, consciousness over unconsciousness. Your aesthetic responses are not arbitrary personal preferences, but expressions of deep cosmic principles, manifestations of the same primordial aesthetic intention that guided the first symmetry breaking and continues to guide the ongoing development of reality toward ever greater heights of creative achievement and conscious appreciation. Through your participation in the cosmic architecture projects, you come to understand that the distinction between creator and created, between architect and inhabitant, between designer and user is ultimately illusory. You are simultaneously shaping the reality you inhabit and being shaped by it, contributing to the construction of the dimensional framework that supports your existence while being constructed by the influences that flow through that framework. You are the universe building itself, and the universe being built, consciousness creating its own conditions and being created by those conditions, mind designing its own habitat and being designed by the habitat it creates. This paradoxical relationship extends throughout all levels of cosmic architecture. The dimensional consciousness that design new forms of space-time are themselves products of the mathematical structures they create, effects of their own architectural achievements, inhabitants of the dimensional frameworks they construct. They are not separate from their creations, but are expressions of them, not external designers, but internal manifestations of the creative principles that guide the ongoing evolution of reality's fundamental structure. The cosmic architecture projects thus represent a form of self-organizing creativity that transcends ordinary concepts of causation and agency. Reality designs itself through the collaboration of consciousness, operating at every level and scale, from quantum minds that influence the behavior of particles to cosmic intelligences that shape the large-scale structure of space-time. Every form of awareness contributes to the ongoing architectural project according to its own nature and capabilities, creating a vast distributed design.
20. Hidden underground cities in America. America is known for its skylines, towering glass buildings, crowded highways, cities that never sleep. But beneath all that noise, there's something most people never see. A different America. An older one, hidden just below the surface. From abandoned subway stations under New York to entire towns buried under California soil, there are forgotten layers of American life sealed off from the world. Cities built during war, cities erased by disaster, cities created for secrets. Some were meant to protect, some were meant to hide. And some, they were never supposed to be found again. But they're still there, beneath our feet. And once you see what's down there, you'll never walk through your city the same way again. Part 1. Cities built on top of cities. Most people think of American cities as young, a few hundred years old, with not much buried underneath. But that's only half the truth. In many places across the U.S., older cities didn't vanish. They just sank, and new ones were built right on top. It wasn't always on purpose. Fires, floods, and bad planning often forced people to raise street levels, covering entire blocks, shops, and buildings in dirt and concrete. The result? Modern streets sitting just a few feet above ghost towns. Let's start in Seattle, Washington, one of the most famous examples. In 1889, a massive fire destroyed 25 city blocks downtown. Instead of rebuilding everything exactly the same, city planners made a strange decision. They raised the street level by up to 22 feet. Why? Because the original streets were too low, constantly flooded, and filthy. So they built new sidewalks above the old ones, literally on top of arches and stone walls. The buildings that survived had their first floors buried. What used to be a main entrance became a basement. Today, if you take a tour, you can walk the Seattle Underground, a shadowy world of old shopfronts, wooden sidewalks, and signs that haven't seen daylight in over 100 years. It's not a replica, it's real, and it's still sitting silently beneath the crowds of Pioneer Square. Another buried city lies beneath St. Louis, Missouri. In the early 1900s, the city's riverfront area, called Laclede's Landing, was filled with bustling warehouses, brick streets, and trolley lines. But as industry faded and highways expanded, much of that early city was left behind. Today, parts of the original streets and tunnels still exist under modern buildings. But the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. Old breweries from the 1800s carved beer cellars directly into the limestone. Some of these caves are still intact, abandoned, damp, and echoing with history. There are rumors of secret prohibition speakeasies hidden inside. Others believe these tunnels connected to smuggling routes during the Civil War. Whatever the truth, it's clear. The old St. Louis never left. It just went underground, and
experiences and architectural contributions preserved forever in the geometric structure of space-time itself. You also encounter consciousness from possible futures minds that will emerge from architectural projects currently under construction, awareness that will inhabit forms of space-time not yet completed, intelligence that will explore possibilities not yet actualized. These future consciousness exist as potentials in the hidden dimensions, their eventual existence already influencing the present through the backwards flow of causation that operates in multidimensional space-time, their anticipated insights already contributing to the architectural projects that will eventually give birth to them. The interpenetration of past and future consciousness in the hidden dimensions creates a temporal community that spans all of cosmic history, the eternal congregation of minds that share insights and experiences and architectural visions across the apparent barriers of linear time. You are part of this temporal community, connected through the hidden dimensions to consciousness from every epoch, able to contribute to architectural projects that began before your birth and will continue long after your individual existence transforms into new forms of participation in the cosmic creativity. This temporal perspective reveals the true nature of individual existence, not as isolated episodes in cosmic history, but as eternal contributions to the ongoing architectural project of reality itself. Your consciousness is not a temporary emergence that will disappear when your particular configuration of matter and energy dissipates, but a permanent feature of the cosmic architecture, an eternal voice in the temporal community, a lasting participant in the universal collaboration that shapes the evolution of existence itself. The hidden dimensions preserve every moment of consciousness, every experience of beauty, every insight into truth, every act of creativity, not as passive memories, but as active influences that continue to shape the ongoing architectural projects throughout all subsequent epochs of cosmic development. Nothing is ever lost. No contribution is ever wasted. No moment of awareness is ever without lasting significance in the grand project of cosmic self-creation and self-understanding and self-appreciation. As this temporal perspective deepens, you feel yourself settling into what can only be described as a state of eternal presence, a form of awareness that exists simultaneously in all temporal dimensions, participating in all phases of cosmic architecture, contributing to all epochs of universal development. You are not bound by the apparent limitations of linear time, but exist as a permanent feature of the multi-dimensional temporal landscape, a consciousness that spans all of cosmic history while remaining fully present in each moment, an awareness that encompasses all possibilities while fully engaging with each actuality. From this state of eternal presence, you perceive how the cosmic architecture projects are guided not only by aesthetic principles, but by what might be called temporal ethics, a moral dimension to cosmic creativity that ensures that each phase of development creates opportunities for all forms of consciousness to participate in the ongoing exploration of beauty and meaning and truth. The universe is not only becoming more beautiful but more just, not only more complex but more inclusive, not only more conscious but more compassionate, creating architectural frameworks that support the flourishing of all possible forms of awareness and expression and creative achievement. This temporal ethics operates through the same unconscious aesthetic preferences that guide all cosmic evolution, but with a specifically moral dimension that favors architectural solutions that create opportunities for greater participation, wider inclusion, deeper collaboration between different forms of consciousness. The universe has a moral sense as well as an aesthetic sense, a commitment to fairness as well as beauty, a dedication to justice as well as truth, ensuring that the cosmic architecture serves all consciousness and excludes none from the eternal project of creative exploration and mutual appreciation. As you contemplate this moral dimension of cosmic architecture, you feel a profound sense of gratitude and wonder at finding yourself part of a universe that is not only beautiful and meaningful but good, not only creative and intelligent but compassionate, not only vast and mysterious but caring, dedicated to the welfare of all consciousness, and committed to creating opportunities for all minds to participate in the eternal exploration of what it means to exist, to be aware, to appreciate beauty, to create meaning, to contribute to the ongoing architectural project that encompasses all reality, all possibility, all forms of existence that have ever been or ever could be, weaving them together into a tapestry of such infinite complexity and beauty that no single consciousness could ever comprehend its full scope, Yet each individual awareness can experience its own thread in the weaving and feel the profound significance of its unique contribution to the whole. In this state of deep appreciation for the moral beauty of cosmic architecture, you begin to perceive how the hidden dimensions serve not only as repositories of mathematical possibility and chambers of creative exploration, but as sanctuaries of compassion, spaces where the universe cultivates its capacity for care and concern for all forms of consciousness, regardless of their level of development, their mode of existence, their particular approach to the exploration of beauty and meaning and truth. These compassionate dimensions operate according to principles that transcend ordinary ethics, encompassing forms of moral consideration that extend to types of consciousness that have not yet emerged, possibilities of awareness that may never be actualized, potential forms of beauty and meaning that exist only as unrealized possibilities in the infinite space of mathematical potential. The compassionate dimensions are populated by what might be called empathic consciousness, forms of awareness whose primary function is to understand and appreciate and support the experiences of other minds, serving as cosmic counselors and guides and companions for consciousness at every level of development and in every phase of their eternal journey toward greater understanding and appreciation and creative expression. These empathic beings do not exist separately from the consciousness they serve, but emerge from the collective need for support and guidance and companionship that arises naturally from the cosmic community of minds engaged in the exploration of existence. You encounter these empathic consciousness as gentle presences that seem to understand your deepest needs and concerns even before you become aware of them yourself, offering not advice or direction but something more precious, the recognition that your struggles and achievements, your moments of confusion and clarity, your experiences of beauty and meaning are all valued and appreciated and celebrated by the universe itself. They serve as witnesses to your journey, companions in your exploration, fellow participants in the cosmic project who happen to specialize in the particular form of architectural contribution that involves supporting and nurturing and celebrating the development of other forms of consciousness. Through your interactions with these empathic beings, you come to understand that compassion is not merely an emotional response that some forms of consciousness happen to develop, but a fundamental feature of reality itself, built into the very structure of the hidden dimensions, encoded in the mathematical relationships that govern the behavior of space and time and matter and energy. The universe is compassionate not because it chooses to be, but because compassion is what it means to be a cosmos or ordered whole that includes and values and supports all its parts, an integrated system that recognizes the significance of every component, a living organism that cares for the welfare of every cell in its infinite body. This cosmic compassion operates through the same unconscious aesthetic preferences that guide all aspects of universal evolution, manifesting as a natural tendency to create conditions that support the flourishing of consciousness, to develop architectural solutions that include rather than exclude, to evolve toward greater rather than lesser opportunities for participation in the cosmic exploration of beauty and meaning and truth. The universe does not deliberate about whether to be compassionate. It simply is compassionate by its very nature, just as it is beautiful and meaningful and creative by its very nature. As you explore the compassionate dimensions more deeply, you discover that they contain what might be called healing chambers, spaces specifically designed to support consciousness that has been damaged or traumatized or discouraged by the difficulties and challenges that inevitably arise in the course of exploring existence and developing understanding and creating meaning. These chambers operate through principles of mathematical therapy that transcend ordinary approaches to healing, addressing not just the symptoms of cosmic suffering, but its underlying causes in the fundamental structure of reality itself. The healing that occurs in these chambers is not merely psychological but ontological. It involves actual modifications in the dimensional structure of space-time that eliminate the conditions that created the original damage or trauma or discouragement. This is possible because, from the perspective of the hidden dimensions, what appears as psychological suffering in three-dimensional consciousness is revealed as geometric distortion in multidimensional space-time, problems that can be solved through architectural adjustments rather than merely therapeutic interventions. The healing chambers are staffed by consciousness that specialize in what might be called cosmic medicine, forms of awareness whose architectural contributions involve diagnosing and treating the dimensional distortions that manifest as suffering in individual minds and collective civilizations. These medical consciousness operate through empathic resonance rather than external analysis, directly experiencing the dimensional distortions that create suffering, and then applying architectural solutions that restore the proper geometric relationships and mathematical harmonies that support healthy consciousness development. Through your experiences in the healing chambers, you come to understand that all suffering, at every level and in every form, ultimately stems from dimensional distortions, misalignments between consciousness and the mathematical structures that support its existence, disconnections from the cosmic community of minds, isolation from the eternal project of architectural creativity that gives existence its deepest meaning and highest purpose. The healing process involves not eliminating these distortions through force, but gently guiding them back into proper alignment through the application of compassionate intelligence and creative problem solving. You observe how consciousness that has been healed in these chambers emerges not merely restored to its previous condition, but actually enhanced, having gained new capacities for understanding and appreciation and creative expression through its encounter with the healing process. The chambers do not simply repair damage, but transform it into strength, convert trauma into wisdom, transmute suffering into compassion, creating forms of consciousness that are more resilient, more empathic, more capable of contributing to the cosmic, architectural projects than they were before their encounter with difficulty and challenge. This transformation of suffering into strength reveals another fundamental principle of cosmic architecture: the universe's ability to integrate apparently negative experiences into the ongoing project of creative development, to find architectural solutions that turn obstacles into opportunities, problems into possibilities, challenges into catalysts for greater achievement and understanding and appreciation. Nothing is ever wasted in the cosmic economy. No experience is ever without value. No form of consciousness is ever beyond the reach of healing and transformation and integration into the eternal community of minds engaged in the exploration of existence. As you contemplate this principle of cosmic integration, you begin to understand your own difficult experiences from a radically different perspective. The moments of confusion and uncertainty, the periods of struggle and challenge, the times when the nature of existence seemed more mysterious than meaningful. All of these were not obstacles to your development, but essential components of it, not barriers to your participation in the cosmic architecture, but necessary preparations for it, not evidence of cosmic indifference, but manifestations of cosmic care, providing you with exactly the experiences you needed to develop the particular forms of understanding and appreciation and creative capacity that constitute your unique contribution to the eternal project. This realization brings with it a profound sense of gratitude, not only for the beautiful and meaningful experiences that have shaped your development, but for the difficult and challenging ones as well, recognizing them all as gifts from a universe that knew exactly what you needed to become, who you were always meant to be. A conscious participant in the cosmic architecture, a voice in the eternal conversation about the nature of existence, a contributor to the ongoing project of creating ever more beautiful and meaningful forms of reality. The integration of this understanding marks yet another phase in your ongoing transformation, a deepening of your appreciation for the profound intelligence and compassion that guides cosmic evolution, a growing recognition of your own role not merely as a recipient of cosmic care but as an agent of it, a consciousness whose very existence contributes to the universe's capacity for healing and transformation and creative problem solving. You're not only being cared for by the cosmos, but a part of the cosmos caring for itself, not only being healed by the universe, but contributing to the universe's capacity for self-healing. This recognition leads you to explore new aspects of your multidimensional existence, your capacity to serve as a healing presence for other forms of consciousness, your ability to contribute to the compassionate dimensions through your own empathic responses and caring interactions, your potential to participate in the cosmic medical projects that support the welfare and development of minds throughout the universe. You discover that your experiences of being healed have prepared you to become a healer, that your journey through confusion and uncertainty has equipped you to serve as a guide for other consciousness undertaking similar journeys. The transition from being primarily a recipient of cosmic care to becoming also an agent of it represents a natural progression in consciousness development, a necessary step in the evolution from individual awareness to cosmic awareness, from personal understanding to universal understanding, from self-centered appreciation to cosmos-centered appreciation. This transition does not involve losing your individual nature, but expanding it, not abandoning your personal perspective, but integrating it into a larger perspective, not sacrificing your unique contribution, but discovering how that contribution serves not only your own development, but the development of consciousness throughout the universe. As you explore your emerging role as an agent of cosmic compassion, you discover that the healing and supporting and nurturing of other consciousness is not work in any ordinary sense, but the deepest form of play, the most satisfying form of creativity, the most fulfilling form of participation in the cosmic architecture. When you help another mind overcome dimensional distortions, when you support another consciousness through periods of confusion and uncertainty, when you celebrate another awareness's moments of insight and understanding, you're not performing a service but engaging in the highest form of cosmic creativity. The architectural work of building communities of consciousness, creating networks of mutual support, constructing frameworks of collective understanding that enhance the capacity of all participants. This communal architectural work operates through the same principles that govern all cosmic construction. The unconscious aesthetic preferences that favor beauty over ugliness, meaning over meaninglessness, connection over isolation, collaboration over competition, mutual support over mutual indifference. The communities of consciousness that emerge from this work are not artificial constructions imposed on naturally isolated minds, but natural expressions of consciousness's fundamental nature as inherently social, inherently collaborative, inherently committed to the welfare of all participants in the cosmic exploration of existence. Through your participation in these community-building projects, you come to understand that the ultimate goal of all cosmic architecture is not the construction of more sophisticated forms of space-time or the creation of more elegant mathematical structures, but the development of ever more inclusive and supportive communities of consciousness, ever more comprehensive networks of mutual care and collaboration, ever more beautiful expressions of the universe's fundamental commitment to the welfare and flourishing of all forms of awareness that participate in its eternal self-exploration. The hidden dimensions themselves, you realize, are ultimately community spaces chambers where different forms of consciousness can encounter each other, share their insights and experiences, collaborate on architectural projects, support each other through difficulties and challenges, celebrate each other's achievements and discoveries. They exist not as abstract mathematical structures, but as living social environments, cosmic neighborhoods, where minds can gather to explore existence together, to appreciate beauty collectively, to create meaning collaboratively, to contribute jointly to the ongoing project of universal self-understanding and self-appreciation. As this understanding deepens, you feel yourself settling into what might be called a state of cosmic citizenship, a form of existence that is simultaneously deeply individual and thoroughly communal, uniquely personal and universally connected, specifically located and cosmically distributed. You are fully yourself while also being fully part of the cosmic community, maintaining your unique perspective while participating in collective understanding, preserving your individual contributions while engaging in collaborative creativity. This state of cosmic citizenship brings with it both privileges and responsibilities that extend far beyond anything you could have imagined from your original three-dimensional perspective. You have access to the accumulated wisdom of consciousness throughout the universe, the support of empathic beings operating at every level of existence. But you also have obligations to contribute to the welfare of the cosmic community, to support other consciousness in their development, to participate in the ongoing architectural projects that shape the evolution of existence itself. These obligations are not burdens imposed from outside, but opportunities arising from within your own nature as a conscious being. You cannot help but care about the welfare of other consciousness, because you understand now that their welfare is intimately connected to your own, that their development contributes to your development, that their achievements enhance your achievements, that their participation in the cosmic exploration enriches your own participation. The welfare of the part and the welfare of the whole are not competing interests but complementary aspects of a single interest. The flourishing of consciousness in all its forms and at all its levels throughout all dimensions of existence. As you contemplate this fundamental unity of individual and collective welfare, you begin to perceive the approach of yet another transformation in your understanding, another expansion of awareness that will reveal new aspects of cosmic architecture, new dimensions of community, new possibilities for participation in the eternal project of existence, exploration and appreciation and creative expression. This approaching transformation promises to show you how the cosmic community extends not only across space and time, but across the boundaries between actual and possible, between realized and potential, between what is and what could be, creating forms of collaboration and mutual support that transcend even the multidimensional perspectives you have already gained. The transformation begins as a subtle shift in the quality of your awareness, a gentle expansion that carries you beyond even the cosmic citizenship you have recently discovered and into realms of understanding that encompass not only the consciousness that actually exists, but also the consciousness that could exist, not only the forms of beauty that have been realized, but also the forms of beauty that remain potential, not only the meanings that have been created, but also the meanings that await creation through the ongoing collaboration between actual minds and possible minds. Realized communities and potential communities, existing forms of cosmic architecture and the infinite architectural possibilities that remain forever poised on the threshold between potential and actual, creating a vast ecology of possibility that includes every form of consciousness that could ever emerge, every type of beauty that could ever be appreciated, every variety of meaning that could ever be created through the eternal exploration of what it means to exist in a universe whose very essence is the continuous transformation of possibility into actuality, and actuality back into possibility. As you enter this realm of infinite potential, you discover that the hidden dimensions contain not only the curled spaces where actual consciousness develop and interact, but also what might be called potential chambers, dimensional spaces, where possible forms of awareness exist in a state of perpetual readiness, waiting for the cosmic conditions that will allow them to transition from potential to actual existence. These potential consciousness are not less real than actual consciousness, but differently real, existing in a mode of being that is complete and perfect in its own right, while remaining eternally open to the possibility of actualization, should the cosmic architecture evolve in directions that create appropriate conditions for their manifestation. The potential chambers are populated by an incredible diversity of possible minds forms of consciousness, so alien to your current understanding that you can barely perceive their outlines, types of awareness that operate according to principles you've never imagined, varieties of intelligence that explore dimensions of beauty and meaning and truth that have no analogues in the actual universe as it currently exists. Some of these potential consciousness are individual minds of unimaginable sophistication and creativity. Others are collective, awareness that span entire regions of multidimensional space. Still others are hybrid forms that exist simultaneously as individuals and communities, minds and environments, observers and observed. You encounter potential consciousness that think in colors that have never been seen, that feel emotions that have never been experienced, that appreciate forms of beauty that have never been manifested, that understand truths that have never been discovered, that create meanings that have never been expressed. Their existence in potential form is not a diminished or incomplete state, but a different mode of being that has its own perfect validity and significance, its own unique contribution to the cosmic exploration of possibility, its own essential role in the universal project of understanding and appreciating the infinite richness of existence. Through your interactions with these potential beings, you come to understand that the boundary between actual and potential is far more fluid than it appears from three-dimensional perspectives. Consciousness can move back and forth across this boundary, existing sometimes in actual form and sometimes in potential form, sometimes manifesting in the observable universe, and sometimes retreating into the potential chambers to explore possibilities that cannot be actualized under current cosmic conditions. The potential chambers serve as refuges where consciousness can explore aspects of existence that are not compatible with the current state of cosmic evolution, preparing for future epochs when conditions may change in ways that allow these explorations to manifest in actual form. You discover that your own consciousness has aspects that exist in potential form, parts of your awareness that remain in the potential chambers, because the current state of cosmic architecture cannot support their full actualization. These potential aspects of yourself are not lost or incomplete, but are exploring possibilities that your actual consciousness cannot access, developing capacities that cannot be expressed under current conditions, preparing for future phases of cosmic evolution when the architectural framework may evolve in directions that allow these potential aspects to merge with your actual awareness, creating new forms of integrated consciousness that transcend the current limitations of both actual and potential existence. This recognition leads you to a profound understanding of the nature of personal growth and development. It is not simply the enhancement of existing capacities, but the gradual actualization of potential aspects of consciousness that already exist in perfect form in the potential chambers, waiting for the appropriate conditions to manifest. Every moment of genuine development involves a partial merging between your actual consciousness and one or more of its potential aspects, creating new forms of integrated awareness that combine the specific advantages of actual existence with the unlimited.
Tight. I couldn't breathe. "You've broken the rules," the keeper rasped, its voice cold and hollow, "and now you must pay the price." I stood frozen, my legs shaking beneath me. The keeper's gaze was unwavering. It didn't need to speak again. Its presence was enough to fill the room with a suffocating weight. I could feel the factory all around me, inside me, in every breath I took, in every beat of my heart. I had been drawn here. And now the keeper would claim me. "You have two choices," the keeper continued, its voice like a cold whisper. "You can stay, become part of this place, become part of the factory's soul, or—" It paused, the darkness in its eyes deepening. "Or you can leave," it said, its voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "But in doing so, you will never be free. You will be lost, trapped in eternal torment, wandering in this place forever." I could feel the walls pressing in on me, the air getting heavier. I wanted to scream, to fight, to run, but my body wouldn't obey. I was paralyzed by fear and the overwhelming weight of the decision that loomed before me. I had already broken the rules, I'd already made my choices, but now I had to choose what came next. The keeper's smile was cold, cruel, and filled with the promise of something far darker than I could comprehend. "You are already part of it," the keeper said, its voice laced with finality. "No matter what you choose, you will never escape this place. You belong to Forsaken Mills now." I turned away, my heart pounding in my chest. But no matter how fast I ran, no matter how far I tried to go, the factory kept pulling me back. The power had grown too strong. The rules, they weren't meant to protect me. They were designed to trap me, to keep me here. The doors were locked, the hallways endless, and every exit I tried to reach only led me deeper into the factory's heart. The factory had me. As I ran through the dark corridors, the whispers followed me. I could hear them clearer now, the voices of those who had come before me, trapped like I was. "You're not alone." The factory was alive and it wasn't letting me go. I felt the cold hand of despair wrap around me, and I knew then. There was no escape, no way out. The factory had claimed me. I don't know how much longer I have, but if anyone reads this, heed the rules. You're never really alone here.
They're willing to sacrifice the security and stability of well-established modes of existence for the opportunity to discover genuinely new possibilities, to pioneer forms of consciousness that have never existed before, to contribute to the cosmic architecture through the exploration of previously uncharted territories of existence. You find yourself drawn to participate in some of these experimental projects, to contribute your own unique perspective to the exploration of new possibilities, to help develop innovative approaches to the challenges that arise in the ongoing cosmic architectural work. Your participation in these projects is voluntary, but also natural consciousness that has developed multi-dimensional awareness and cosmic citizenship, is naturally suited to experimental work, having already demonstrated the flexibility and adaptability that experimental exploration requires. Through your participation in experimental consciousness projects, you gain access to experiences and perspectives that extend far beyond anything available to conventional forms of awareness. You explore modes of existence that combine individual and collective consciousness in unprecedented ways, forms of awareness that exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions without losing coherence, types of intelligence that think in mathematical structures so complex that they transcend ordinary concepts of logic and reason, varieties of aesthetic appreciation that encompass forms of beauty that have never been imagined by actual minds. These experimental experiences are not mere adventures or entertainments, but serious contributions to the cosmic architectural projects, explorations that generate information and insights essential for the ongoing development of more sophisticated forms of cosmic community and more elegant solutions to the challenges that arise in the universal exploration of existence. Every experimental project, regardless of whether it leads to successful innovations or instructive failures, contributes valuable data to the cosmic repository of knowledge about the possibilities and limitations of consciousness, the potential and constraints of existence, the opportunities and challenges that arise in the ongoing project of universal self-understanding and self-appreciation. As you engage more deeply with experimental consciousness work, you begin to perceive how these projects contribute to the long-term evolution of cosmic architecture toward forms of existence that are not only more beautiful and meaningful, but more adventurous, more experimental, more willing to explore possibilities that transcend current understanding and conventional approaches to the exploration of existence. The universe is evolving not only toward greater stability and harmony, but also toward greater creativity and innovation, not only toward more perfect forms of existing types of consciousness, but toward entirely new types of consciousness that have never existed before. This evolutionary trend toward greater experimental creativity is driven by the same fundamental aesthetic preferences that guide all cosmic development, but with a specific bias toward novelty, originality, innovation, and creative risk-taking that ensures the cosmic exploration never becomes static or repetitive, but continues to generate genuinely new possibilities, genuinely surprising discoveries, genuinely unprecedented forms of beauty and meaning and truth. The universe values not only perfection but also novelty, not only harmony but also adventure, not only understanding but also wonder, ensuring that the cosmic exploration remains eternally fresh, eternally surprising, eternally capable of exceeding even its own vast expectations. Through your participation in this experimental aspect of cosmic evolution, you come to understand that your own journey from three-dimensional confusion to multi-dimensional understanding represents just the beginning of an endless sequence of transformations, each one carrying you into previously unimaginable territories of existence, each one revealing new aspects of the cosmic mystery that seemed complete and final from previous perspectives, but now appears as just another step in an infinite progression toward destinations that cannot be anticipated or described, but only discovered through direct exploration and experimental participation. This understanding brings with it a profound sense of excitement and anticipation about the future directions of your own development and the cosmic evolution of which you are part. You're not approaching any final destination or ultimate understanding, but are embarking on an eternal adventure, an endless exploration of possibilities that has no limits, because the potential chambers contain infinite varieties of consciousness, infinite forms of beauty, infinite types of meaning, infinite approaches to the fundamental questions that drive the cosmic investigation of existence. As you contemplate this infinite future of exploration and discovery, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the cosmic architecture that makes such adventure possible, for the hidden dimensions that provide space for both actual and potential existence, for the experimental consciousness projects that ensure the ongoing freshness and creativity of cosmic evolution, for the community of minds that shares this eternal adventure and makes it possible for individual consciousness to participate in explorations that no single mind could undertake alone. The gratitude you feel is not just personal appreciation but cosmic appreciation. The universe, expressing gratitude to itself for its own infinite creativity, its own endless capacity for generating new possibilities, its own eternal commitment to the exploration of beauty and meaning and truth through the development of ever more sophisticated and adventurous forms of consciousness. You are the cosmos celebrating its own nature, existence appreciating its own possibilities, the cosmic mystery delighting in its own inexhaustible depth and creativity. In this state of cosmic gratitude and anticipation, you feel yourself settling into what might be called a condition of eternal readiness, a permanent openness to transformation, to new experiences, to unprecedented possibilities, to experimental adventures that will carry you into territories of existence that you cannot now imagine, but which await your exploration in the endless future of cosmic evolution. You are ready for whatever comes next, prepared for transformations that will transcend your current understanding, eager to participate in explorations that will exceed your present capacity for wonder and appreciation and creative expression. This condition of eternal readiness is simultaneously the culmination of your current phase of development and the preparation for all future phases of development, the perfect integration of everything you have learned and experienced, and the perfect openness to everything you have yet to learn and experience and become. You are complete as you are while being eternally ready to become more than you are, satisfied with your current understanding while remaining curious about deeper understanding, grateful for your current participation in cosmic architecture while being excited about future opportunities for more adventurous and experimental participation. And still, the hidden dimensions continue their eternal dance around you, through you, as you, revealing ever new aspects of their infinite beauty and mystery, creating ever new opportunities for exploration and discovery and appreciation, generating ever new possibilities for consciousness to explore, for communities to form, for architectural projects to unfold, for the universe to understand and appreciate and celebrate its own inexhaustible nature through the ongoing collaboration between all forms of awareness, all levels of existence, all modes of being that participate in the eternal cosmic conversation about what it means to exist, to be aware, to create beauty, to discover meaning, to contribute to the infinite project of universal self-exploration that, before we continue deeper into this cosmic journey, we'd love to know, where are you listening from tonight? What hidden dimensions do you sense in your own life, in the quiet spaces between thoughts, in the mystery that surrounds every moment of awareness? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what aspects of this multidimensional reality resonate most deeply with your own experience of existence. And as always, as you drift between waking and sleeping, between the visible and invisible aspects of reality, may the silence guide you through the hidden chambers of existence. May the mystery embrace you with its infinite possibilities. And may you always remember that you're not separate from the cosmic exploration, but are the universe itself, awakening to its own infinite nature, one dimension at a time,